So, yes. So I guess kind of before we get started, I just have I guess this would be a general question since you both live in houses with boys. But it has to be a boy thing.
Okay.
We're in quarantine. We're in lockdown, sort of. All this kind of shit's been going on. We've all got a bunch of extra time on our hands. How in the fuck can no one put the toilet paper back on the roll? Oh. It's sitting on the counter. This is my own building, and I walk in, and it's sitting on the counter next to the one that's empty on the wall, and the toilet paper's sitting on the counter.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
It's too much effort. It's too much. We're at our max capacity. We cannot add any more to our lives right now.
We have so much time.
I know. But do we have the mental space to handle
No,
that?
I don't know. I'm out.
Apparently not.
No.
Apparently the answer is no.
We can't actually make it into
My
the
favorite
toilet.
thing in the world is the one bathroom that has
toilet.
the toilet holder that just is a sidebar, so you don't have to dismantle anything.
Right.
That one gets changed very regularly.
Yeah.
So there's an idea. You could
tactical
update.
error on my part.
Yes,
I need
yes.
to
You should
upgrade
only
my-
get the easiest ones that are the lazy person's version.
The spring-loaded
Yeah.
Too scary.
container.
It was an unnecessary impediment.
Well, it's like an unnecessary invention, too. It's like
That's the
a
best.
single bent bar must have been the first thing, and then they went to spring. Why would they go to spring-loaded? So it doesn't slip off
Do
the
you
end?
remember in the 80s when you could buy them with scent beads inside, and then when you rolled the toilet paper, it would make your bathroom smell good?
Oh, dear God. Like potpourri in a tube?
Yep.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was like
Fragrant
a
poop.
Glade plug-in, only like little beads inside the toilet paper roll
I
thingy.
forgot about that. Yeah.
You don't want those.
I'm kind of glad I never knew about that, but that's also kind of weird.
I was in the era of those international coffees and the Vienna ice cream cake. That, you know.
Gotcha.
Good. You
remember that?
Yes.
Do you want me to bring your mic up? Is that...
That's up to you. Cause
No, it's... How do you feel? You feel like...
I'm not I'm not uncomfortable. I'm fine.
I'm not comfortable.
I'm not comfortable at all.
I'll slide it up a little. This is how this goes. It's kind of fun. And then it ends up sometimes being in part of the show and sometimes not.
Oh, cool.
There, that better.
Much better. Thank
Nice
you.
and tight. That's all good. You happy?
Sure.
You happy?
Yeah.
Are you super happy that you're out of the house?
It's kind of weird.
Okay, so how long have you been trapped inside your domestic prison?
Since March 13th, 2020.
Yeah.
Oh! Okay, so you guys went full tilt
Right up
at
the
home, quarantine.
When the schools went out.
When the schools went out, when the lights went out on Broadway.
Yes.
You locked it down in the house, loaded up all the food cans, and set stakes and fire.
Right.
And said,
Started homesteading.
Started making your own toilet paper. Yeah.
making your own toilet. I made my own bidet.
The garden hose.
Yeah.
Very effective.
Oh, the creek water. So, okay, so March 13th. Can you count how many times you've been out of the house?
I mean, I probably could.
Yeah.
I filled up my gas tank in my car on March 13th. I picked the kids up from school that day. I filled up the tank and I didn't fill it again for like 6 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which is incredible because I was driving, to Monmouth from Portland
Right.
a couple times a week and driving the kids to and from school and activities and from the club. And so there's a lot less wear and tear on my car.
Yeah.
Some positive things come out of this.
Yeah, a lot more wear and tear on your psyche, though.
Right. Some people binge watch Netflix.
You finished Netflix?
I binge watch my children.
Oh God. Binge watch your children binge watching Netflix. That'd be super meta.
Yeah. Who's got time for that?
That's crazy, Marcia. And I know you were.
We've been pretty locked down.
Yeah.
I don't think as locked down as Sara. Like I still go to Target if I need to, or
Target.
something. But we are pretty locked and loaded. I mean, for the most part, like I forgot something on the grocery list, so I did a Target like curbside deal that turned out to be a come inside, and I was like, listen here, I'm trying to lower my exposure, and you're changing it up on me at the last second. No, I was expecting to go in my trunk, but I survived. Jason has had his first vaccine though, which makes me feel like okay. I told him he has to start doing all the trips anywhere because I'm like, you're protected.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Well, yeah. I mean, the risk level is considerably lower because, as a lot of people pointed out last week with Deanna and Kayla giving us the full detailed version of how mRNA works and the percentage and everything, it's 95% effective. It's awesome, but that's still like
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
5% of 350 million people is, math. Lots of math.
Yeah.
But, it's like 15 million that, it's like, you still got to be cognitively aware of what you're doing and where you're going. And I don't know, because you guys know me well enough to know it's like the social distancing thing was awesome because it's like, awesome, this is more fuck off space. Like, just back off. Just go away. Like the 6 foot thing, can we make it 12? Can we make it 25? I'm happy.
Yes,
we're good.
I love that.
But I don't want stuff to be closed. I just, I don't need people climbing on top of me.
Right?
It's like, so that part's been great. So it's good that Jason can go out and like kind of bite that bullet, because I know you're not a big like.
No, I don't like.
You're not a big hugger. You're not a big.
No, I'm not a big like out in the world person. So yes.
Yeah.
It's been a good fit for him to be able to do it.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm glad he's gone through, and has he had both shots now?
He has not. His next shot is next weekend, and he's actually then signed up to do a shift of vaccinations himself. So on the same day, so he's going to go in and get a shot, and then walk right over and start
stabbing people.
Right.
Yep.
Take the Tylenol. So my husband has had both.
Right.
And he nothing from the first one and the second one. He about 18 hours later said it was like a switch flipped.
Yeah.
It was 4 hours, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm fine."
Was it Pfizer or Moderna?
It was probably Pfizer because he was on one of the first rounds.
So anecdotally, that seems to be the like Moderna's been kind of like headache, but not the nausea, and the Pfizer one's been like nausea for a brief window, and then boom, and then done.
Yeah.
I had a few friends that were on shift that got it like at the front end of their shift. They're on for 24, and then it's like or 12, depending on red or blue, and they were like, a couple Tylenol is fine. They were all Moderna. Yeah. The Pfizer ones, no. If it didn't go well, it was like, blah.
Yeah.
Not nauseous and just like, not a great window of time. Yeah.
He didn't have any nausea. He just said all of a sudden his whole body hurt.
Really?
Everything ached. He felt like he had a fever, but he didn't have a fever. It was the kind
nanobots.
of aches and stuff, right?
See, it's the chip
They're crawling
injection.
through you.
They're crawling through you
Yep,
and
they all
assimilating
connected from the first dose. They all met up, and now he's connected to the 5G network or whatever.
Bro, meat in the cerebellum, ready, go.
Is it going to make my cell service cheaper? That's all. Like, I'm down. I'm fine. Can I just think to my husband what I want without using my phone? I'm in. Like, put them inside of me. I don't ever make my life so much easier.
Give me all the nano.
Less data usage, right?
Right?
I can worry about going over your data plan.
That's right. It's so easy.
Just tap your. Just be like, can you hear what I'm saying?
Can you
I'm
hear
pretty
me?
sure. How you been married? How many years?
22 this summer.
22. I'm pretty sure he knows what you're saying, even without.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Even with the mask, I'm pretty sure by the eyes, he can be like,
he knows.
Jason.
Yeah. He knows.
Yeah. No, that's been. It's kind of an interesting thing too. Like, going on seeing people and stuff, it's like how much communication is still able to be made, even though you can't see my face right now, so I could be frowning, I could be smiling, whatever, but it's like it's so much comes through the eyes. It's like, you're a real fucking asshole because I can see it with the mask on. Like, this is like, I don't want to hang out with you. It's been it's like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride or freaking Alice, like
upside down.
Everything's upside down and inside out, and time has been. We joke about quarantine time, like it's pandemic time, like COVID. Like
it takes
dog
forever.
years. It's like it's been 11 months. No, it's been like 75 COVID years.
Well, when we were, I think it was over the summer. I think I told you about this. It was maybe like August or September. I don't know. I remember it being 7 months, so maybe it was a little later than that. I told my youngest child, like, it's only been 7 months, and he goes, "That is not true. It has been 1.5 years at least." And I was like, "No." And we looked at the calendar, and he just was like, "That was the longest 7 months of my life." Like,
well, for him it was.
It was.
I mean, it's like, because how old is he?
10.
10, right? So I mean, even 1 year is going to be 10% of his life.
Right?
It's like 10% of your life was spent in lockdown.
Yeah.
No, I think at my age now, 10% of my life has actually been spent at Disneyland.
Nice.
As many times I've been there, so it's like the scale's way off, right? Like 10% of his life is quarantine, and I'm like Magic Kingdom. Like, I'll take mine over that. And I mean, the kids. Oh God, the kids. I feel terrible. Like, it's just.
It's brutal.
It is.
So brutal.
And yet they're still holding out at least some level of sanity more than the adults are.
I think so, yes. Although if we
because they don't get alcohol, and I know a lot of adults are compromising with a lot of alcohol and chocolate.
If we hear about one more kid in the class having a play date, though, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, just keep it.
Do your thing. Just
keep it to yourself. And, trying to explain to him that we don't need a learning pod, so we're not going to pod up with another family because lucky you, your mom stays at home and can do all the things. And he's just like, but I want to go to so-and-so's house like everybody else does and take a turn. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, you're going to learn to be friends with your siblings or murder them. It's going to go one way or the other.
We have played a lot of Crazy Eights, a lot of Family Hearts, and we have a very tiny, child's pool table. We play that all the time together.
Yeah.
He's my best friend now.
Yeah, well, that's good. He's your bestie. And that, at least he's got that, because, I mean, there's a lot of the kids that are not so fortunate on the domestic side.
Right.
And I sit here, and that's why it's like, it's impossible to judge, because it's, yes, people who have that opportunity, or, they can take their kids, whatever, outside, drive, whatever, go places, right? Even if it's just them, they still have mobility.
Yep.
There's so many kids that don't have.
They don't have that. Or their parents are both in-person workers somewhere. And the number of kids that I hear, like my kids reporting, oh, so-and-so, he hasn't checked in at all this month in homeroom. Like the teachers are like worried, or it's come up in class. Right. And it just, I mean, that's middle schoolers, elementary school kids. And none of these parents are sitting out to, it's not the parents' fault. They have to go to work. They have to be, they have to pay, that has to come first. And the pressure on the parents and the kids is just mind-boggling to me. Yeah. I mean, you know how it is because you're working.
Yeah, trying. Yeah, it is. And I do think when I look at my kids, I think you are in probably the most ideal situation that you could be in, where even though daddy has to leave to go to work in person, I am able to work remotely. I work part-time also. And so, I can be attentive to you, and I can help you, and I can support a neurodiverse kid and a neurotypical kid in school. And it's still really hard, and they're isolated. We're lucky because we have 5 acres. We're in the country. They can go outside. They've got friends who are in apartments who almost can't do anything.
Stuck in a hamster cage.
Yep. Right. And, I'm watching kids on their Zooms, and there's one little boy who's doing class from his mom's car while she's at work. Right. And another kid who I know the mom works nights. She's a single mom. She has worked her nights, and I had talked to her pre-COVID and said, like, how do you do this? You must be exhausted. And she said, well, I get home and I get the kids ready for school, and then I go to sleep. And then I get up and I come and I pick them up from school, and then I might be able to catch a couple hours sleep. Right. And now I see her in the background of these Zooms just looking like a zombie. Yeah. And even my kids in the most ideal possible circumstances with all the privileges in the world are struggling. And those families are really struggling. And those kids are struggling.
Well, and that's the game right now seems to be, okay, can we since there's about any give and take 6 to 8 months before the majority of people will have at least a passing opportunity to have the vaccination, right? So can we make it to this home stretch, through this home stretch, even though we know this isn't going to be a one-time deal, but that's still half of one more school year plus summer. You've still got the school system is the largest daycare in the country. Yep. And it's
a public health service.
Right. I was going to say, I have heard people make comments like, oh, all these parents, they just don't want to watch their own kids. That is straight up misogyny. That's what that is, like, oh, your entire world should be completely completed by spending every waking moment with your kids. But schools are not daycares. They're socializing agents. Right. They're educating kids. They're teaching them how to function in our society. How else do kids learn, like, someday I'm going to have to go have a job, and I'm going to have to answer to a boss who I may or may not like. Right. Because when you have a teacher you may or may not like, they're still the teacher, and you still have to do what they say. Yeah. You've got to follow different rules. You've got to get along with people who maybe aren't like you or don't have the same life experience as you or the same values as you. That's what schools do. So I know we have sort of, it feels like it's a daycare. It's so much more important than that. And like Jodi said, it's a public health issue. This is so much greater than just like parents need to go to work. Kids need this education. Kids are really, we're as a species, we are really resilient, but it's always the kids who are the most vulnerable, who are screwed. Yeah. And there are some of them that aren't going to ever catch up from this. Well, and that's kind of the big question, right? Is like, okay, after the asteroid hit, kind of thing, right? Yeah, a bunch of dinosaurs died immediately, but then it took a little while. And which ones stuck around, and how they do it. And it's, this kind of feels like, big fat ass asteroid hit the school system. Right. And the kids, the diversity, well, let's back up. Sara, because you've already used some really big words. Yeah, I did. And none of them were 4-letter words.
I know. Well, again, 4-letter words, as we said, they're just adjectives. As long as you don't use them as a verb, you can't get in trouble. Why don't you explain to everybody what you do and who you are? Because it is kind of an important component to why we all really wanted to. I mean, you two are besties, so that's the easy part. It's like Batman and Batman, but
Jodi is my life partner.
Exactly.
She's my platonic life partner.
She's your platonic life partner.
Yes. We met at the gym.
Right. Non-sexual lesbian lovers.
Right. Or
exactly.
or like my buddy Rod and I is like, we're hetero life partners.
Yes.
It's like the without the So
yes, we meet each other's emotional needs all the time.
Exactly.
All the time. Yes. Right. It's a symbiotic and what's the one word? You're a
parasitic.
Parasitic. It is symbiotic and parasitic simultaneously. Thank you.
Anything you want me to be, that's what I am.
You tell me what I am to you.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So who am I?
Who you are.
Who I am. I mean, I would say primarily at this point, I am a parent.
Yes, job number one.
Yeah. To function in these crazy circumstances that we have not done for 100 years,
Right.
and maybe have in various levels. But this is
Little House on the Prairie style.
Yeah, this is pretty spectacular just to see how much this has affected society. So professionally, my doctorate is in clinical psychology. I'm not a licensed or practicing psychologist now, but I am a college professor, and I teach undergraduate psychology, and my particular area of study is the psychology of terrorism. But I have the clinical background, and I have been a practicing psychologist. So the shrink in me never dies.
Right.
And so I do see things through that lens of risk and resilience and symptom development over stress conditions and how people rebound from that. So, so that's kind of...
You're a neuro badass. Like, you're a neuro ninja. I mean, that's when people are like, who's Sara? I'm like, oh, you don't understand.
You don't even know.
Like, you don't even know.
She knows.
How come I never heard of her? Because that's how good she is.
Yes. Yeah.
She is the ninja. She's the neuro ninja.
Yeah.
Yes.
She gets in your head. And it's like, oh my God. I didn't even
I
realize
used to make people
I
cry for a living.
Yes.
To be fair, that probably is a good thing. Because it means that you're getting deep into that, like, past the bullshit
Oh,
wall
yeah.
and into the, like, hey, let's, like, carve out the cancer.
Right.
Metaphorical cancer, not, actually stabbing them. And
Peeling
making
the
it whole.
onion is what we call it.
Peeling the onion, yeah.
Peeling
Like
to those deep layers. But
ogres.
yeah. Also, it
onions.
means that I ask inappropriately personal questions because I forget that's not normal.
Only inappropriate if you make eye contact.
But you're so non-threatening that, like, everybody loves to tell you things. You give great advice. You're a spectacular listener. You know the questions to ask. And you're just so sweet and kind. So sweet and kind.
I do love people. I mean, I depict the right profession because I love humans. So
Most humans.
No, she really does. This is where we're kind of like the
Different,
yin and the yang, or
Right.
the two sides of the same coin. She finds good in all the people, and if
I don't like them, there's something
right
real
there.
big,
Yes, none of
real
us like
big.
them.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's helped me like find that even people that make me uncomfortable are good, worthy people and are worth, my time of day. If not a hug, they can at least,
It's my little
they get an
orphan
eyebrow raise or some kind of,
right.
non-invasive
something.
contact. Yes, I'll stand and talk to them instead of saying I have to go.
Now, Jodi,
Yes.
on the other hand, everyone knows you're the flot. So
Yes.
a designation I have
Yes.
given you.
Yes.
But the First Lady of Tigard, otherwise known as Jodi Snider.
The hot flot.
The hot flot.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes, my husband is the mayor of Tigard, and he started out on the city council, and then when he moved to mayor, I kind of took over like the role of everything else in our life, because being mayor is not his full-time job. So he has a full-time job and is the mayor.
And his full-time job is, because it is kind of relevant.
He is a manager with Kaiser Permanente and is a paramedic by clinical training. So he's actually going to be giving vaccinations, which is very exciting.
Very exciting.
Yes, so yay for that. Once upon a million years ago, I was a kindergarten teacher, and I still have my license. And I like to, just so people know, I did actually do it, and I do have the license.
She's locked and loaded.
I'm locked and loaded. I can provide all kinds of
in the chamber.
unrelevant advice at this point. I have 3 of my own kids, and same as Sara, I am full-time momming these days, like full-time momming. My kids are a little older, 15, 12, and 10. And so right before COVID started, like I actually was like, this is the best life ever. Big kids are amazing. They're so easy. They just take care of themselves. And they do, but that looks different after you've been home for almost a year together.
Traffic, no mobility, or other activities.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I stay home with them, manage their education. It's been super eye-opening to me to see, I mean, as a teacher, it's not that I didn't have respect for teachers before, but how thoroughly the teachers have been able to pivot and provide quality instruction with the limited tools. Yes. Yeah. I'm sure not everybody. I'm sure the ones that we're coming in contact with through my kids' school, there is yet to be a single teacher that has not been spectacular.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Finding out how reliant, for example, my 4th grader is on in-person instruction, and how clueless he is to manage himself. I was baffled and still dumbfounded, like how far we got behind, how quickly we got far behind and had to make it up. And then the same thing happened in January. It was like, so, I mean, God love the teachers, because that would send me over the edge.
Well, you forget. So my oldest is the same age as her youngest, mine are 8 and 9. And you forget that they're just not developmentally capable of.
No, they're not small adults.
No, they're not.
They're children.
Not. And they can't do things like, okay, I'm going to give you a 5-minute break. You go, move your body a little bit and then come back in 5 minutes. They have no idea what 5 minutes is.
Yeah.
Nor is that nearly enough to, I forget who said it, but get the wiggles out and all that kind of stuff. It's like, we had that same conversation in the house, because Gabby's in 4th grade, and their boogie break, it was like 5 minutes. And she wrote a 3-page letter about why that's not enough time.
Good for her.
And outlined all the things. I can't play with the cat. I can't even pet both dogs. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't do these things, especially if I have to pee a lot because I've been sitting here drinking all this water.
Sure.
All these things, 3 full pages. And it was actually really good. Nice. And they extended the boogie break to 15 minutes. And then I think it got bumped to 20 because whatever, I think the teacher realized, like, oh, actually this
is like their only recess. Like, their only recess.
Yeah. She had like a little mini insurrection amongst Zoom because all the kids were just like, this is insane.
This is not working.
But that's her class. And I know like a lot of the high school kids and junior high, man, they're on at like 8:30 in the morning. They don't get off till 4. Yeah. Straight. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Our middle school was the opposite. It was huge long breaks of independent work time, and like for the most part, like I have had no issues with Tuality. Like it's been great, and I wasn't going to say anything because my kid's doing fine and they have plenty of people weighing in whose kids are not doing fine, but I was pleased when they shifted the schedule so that like on Mondays and Thursdays my middle schooler would have Spanish and then no other direct instruction the entire day, and then on Tuesdays and Fridays she had like hours and hours of direct instruction. I was just appreciative that they shifted the schedule a bit, because I was like, how many kids are not even signing into the first class because I have nothing else to do and they sleep right through it, or so yes. It's been an interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's amazing. I think I hear a lot of parents who underestimate the amount of effort it takes to teach. I think we tend to see that as not a very valuable profession, probably because it's dominated by women too. There's a theme here. And I think that
can worms.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Am I on my
on your soapbox?
Here we go. So I think that parents also are frustrated, and they really they see that what their kids need, and they see what's not working for their kids, and they're frustrated because the teachers are like trying to do all these really creative and innovative and amazing things, and it's this real trial and error to try to totally adapt our education system to a completely different format.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to bake cake with basically shit for ingredients.
Yes, it's trying to make a keto birthday cake.
Right, that kids will actually eat.
That kids will
keto
eat.
And vegan and gluten-free all at the same time.
It's good for you.
Yes.
It's good for you.
So here, eat some cedar bark chips. That's
delicious.
basically what school feels like. And what's funny is it's like how radically diverse between different districts it is.
Yes.
Because you guys are across the highway. We're on this side. You're
Westland-Wilsonville.
So you're kind of down the road across the highway a little bit. And
my brother works for Canby district.
Canby. And then you start different. And I don't know a good way to say this, but you look at that little Bermuda Triangle, and the socioeconomic demographics of said Bermuda Triangle is very affluent and not incredibly diverse.
Not at all.
The second you get past 99 into Portland, Portland Public Schools, fucking disaster.
Oh, and wildly varied from school to school within the same district in terms of not that they're not trying to roll out the same program, but what each individual teacher can do with that, what the school's like vibe is and how that looks.
And what the families and the kids are what they're
capable
of.
Yes.
Right. So I think we spend a lot of time crapping on, see how I didn't swear.
Okay, hold on. Back up. Why not?
Because I've been binge watching my kids, and I like
your filter is firmly in place at this point.
I can't, or like it slips, and now there's this sort of like flood that comes.
Once you start,
this is the thing. You're repressing your emotions through language. That's not a good thing, Sarah. I'm not a psychologist, but I've listened to you enough times to understand. It's like, this is the emotional center of your brain screaming to be let out. Let all the fucks out. See? There we go.
I feel so much better. There was one fuck.
Just one left to give.
It's like, it's been since March. I'm all out of fucks.
Right.
There's no more.
I think so. All right, I'll say it. I think we shit on schools and we blame schools for a lot of things. And I think what we do is blame when there isn't necessarily, it's a situation that requires blame. It's way
or an
more
ambiguous target. We got to find something.
Right.
Something
Well, it's just a really complex situation where you're going to have different quality teachers, like different skills and capabilities. You're going to have districts that have more and less resources, that have better and maybe less functional leadership. And then you're going to have the families and their capacity to support their kids and the kids, and there's just so many working parts. And I think it's really easy to blame teachers or blame schools and not really look at the bigger picture here. Right. And I think everything is in human behavior is always more complex than we can really understand in a brief moment. And humans have limited cognitive capacity to take in that complexity instantaneously. And so you have to sit and pick through it. But if you're just like, I'm going to blame that, that's the issue. If it was just, if those parents weren't such losers, or if those teachers weren't so wrong, you've just oversimplified this really complex situation.
Which it seems to be a function of the cultural shift, I'd say, in the last 3 to 5 years with people call it cancel culture, but just basically call it the knee-jerk culture of I have to have an instant hot take on this.
Right.
To be honest, I blame sports, because the sports side, like the professional sports world, used to be filled with commentators and analysts that had analytical thought and took time to analyze what's going on with this team, what's going on with this player. Now everything's a hot take.
Nuance.
And it has been. There is no nuance. It's all, this is this is that. I got to have a hot take and I got to be first.
Well, and I wonder how much social media has played into that too, because it's just a constant feed. And there's that
wiffle ball.
Well, it's like, you either like it or you don't like it. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
And the
disagree.
Yeah, and the expectation is that you have that opinion immediately right now.
Yeah.
And
I mean, and that's the thing, right? There's no slider bar there. It's like, I'm either all 10 or all 0. It's like, well, maybe I'm a 6 on this one. Maybe I'm a 4 on that one. Maybe I'm a 10 on this, and I really like that thing. Or maybe I'm a 10 on it and I really don't like that thing. Whatever it is. And there is no balance. So then the pandemic has become this massive stress test for so many systems, including our infrastructure, which obviously, I don't know about you guys, but I'm totally fine with getting a $1,200 stimulus check one time in a year when I haven't been able to have my fucking business open. Because that totally covered all my bills. That
absolutely covers all your expenses and your living expenses too.
That's so ridiculous, right?
Somebody said $600 is what rich people think poor people or average people think is a lot of money. Like if you're rich, you think that poor people or working class people will be like, woohoo, $600.
Yeah.
It's not going to buy us any more. Not that I'm a poor person, but it's not going to buy a struggling person more than it's going to buy you. It's still $600.
Right. $600.
It's still nothing.
Yeah, and that's where like it feels like all of our systems have been uniformly and with great balance tested the same way. School system, medical, law enforcement. Basically police, fire, medical, all our first responders, right? I mean, because they just got hammered from day one. And then, your scholastic system, and then our government and food service. And it's like, okay, so where's our food coming from? How's it getting distributed? How do the grocery stores, what's not working? Restaurants have been, it's this kind of weird, like, hey, everybody got the same test. Some people were able to get through the vast majority of the last 11 months because they were either deemed essential or by coincidences to which they had no control or influence over, they became a very profitable enterprise, such as, for at least a period of time, firearms dealers.
Sure.
Where it was like, hey, the fucking country's burning.
Right.
And no matter what side of that fence you fell on, everybody was in line to go find something that would fit that,
something that goes bang that protects you from bad guys.
And so
I feel insecure. What can I do to make myself feel safe?
Or maybe legitimately, I am not secure, not insecure, but I am not secure, and I live in a very dangerous situation and area right now because I can't fucking just move to the suburbs, the big mass exodus, right?
Yeah.
And need to deal with that. Okay, awesome. But that it wasn't like there was some major invention within that industry or any other industry that's profited. Amazon. The best thing to happen to Amazon was a pandemic. You can't go to brick and mortar. They're all closing. You can't get it. Everything's got to be delivery. Awesome. Now we have 7 billion Amazon trucks and no mom and pop stores because they're all out because they're not deemed essential. So it's kind of this weird test that it tested everybody equally, but by coincidence, some industries were a little bit
deeply impacted versus
more,
others.
Yeah, exactly. Fitness for perfect example. Like I mean, yes, it's a fitness podcast, but I mean it's obviously social fitness too, and mental fitness and everything else. But I mean, this is how bad the pandemic was. You bought a fucking Peloton.
I did.
You who hates cardio bought a Peloton.
I bought a Peloton. I sit on a stationary bike for hours per week now. Yeah.
I thought I might have to do an intervention. Like,
right?
Are you okay?
I know.
Are you safe?
No,
is everything okay?
Like, legitimately, it's like, I mean, people don't understand. It's like more than 4 reps is cardio.
It absolutely is.
If you do
100%.
5 revolutions on that wheel, Jodi.
I'm a marathoner now. I'm an ultra distance rider. I just don't go anywhere.
I'm an ultra distance stationary rider.
Absolutely.
In my bedroom.
But I mean, the change that in the Peloton, which I've been very impressed with their ability to navigate this, because partly it's a hardware issue too. But it's like, no, they did a really good job setting up an ecosystem where they were able to, in a negative way you can say, capitalize on this, but in a positive way, give people an opportunity to do more than just sit there and eat and sit
and be depressed. And I mean, in one of your other podcasts, I know Julie Thompson was talking about the mental health benefits of some kind of physical activity.
Yes.
The first month of pandemic, I was dragging my family out for walks every day, and it tapered off once we kind of found our balance. But at first I was like, we are so accustomed to going somewhere every single day, coming here to work out, taking my daughter to gymnastics, soccer practice, some way out. And so just taking a walk every day was sort of our transition from an active lifestyle to a quarantine lifestyle, which was a huge shift for us, for our mental health, for sure. Yeah, for the 5 of us.
Yeah, and that's where I just the whole thing has been, especially with the education system. It's like anything else. You're always going to have some good teachers, some bad. Some whether they're in person or not, they're going to be awesome. Or if they're not awesome, they're going to be not awesome. And certain subjects translate well online. I mean, you're the brain person, but there are certain subjects that are probably easier for some kids the way that they think to do online with no help, because they can just go through progressions. And some of them are going to need to be like, cool, I need you to sit next to me, and I need hands-on help.
And that's developmental, and it's different subjects. And
different
it's
interests.
Different kids. It's they're different, neuroatypical versus neurotypical. They need different learning environments.
Neuroatypical versus neurotypical.
Yeah, like
you say
autism,
that so fast. It's like
autism spectrum, ADHD, any of those brain-based disorders that that reflect differences in the brain. We call it neurodiverse. Neuroatypical is actually not a term I should use, but neurodiverse. And
beat me to my follow-up question.
And then so people without those, what's been interesting is I have one neurodiverse kid who's thriving right now.
Online.
This is phenomenal for him, because the school environment is so stressful for him. There's so much sensory input, and the social world is very hard for him. And really, when they're able to go back for hybrid, I think that's like the most perfect balance for him. He'll have a few days, and he's got friends in school and he loves that, but in terms of the academic setting, he's actually doing really well in
better
this.
On the academic side.
And then my neurotypical kid is like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is awful. And so, and I do think it's the subjects, but I also have little kids. This is going to look different.
8 and 9, right?
8 and 9, so 2nd and 4th grade. And but teenagers, the developmental task of teenagers is social. That's huge. They need to be with their peers. They should be disengaging. In our society, we expect them to disengage from their families. And
fly, please, get out.
And just start developing their own identities and testing out those things. And, that's what we expect. And so the stressors for teenagers are just, yes, it's similar for the younger ones, but it's so different.
Well, and as someone who has teenagers, how I parent them has changed in the last 10 months dramatically. The allowed screen time, because that's how they socialize with their friends. Right. So my sophomore, video games with his friends constantly. And also, even though him being in his room on his computer drives me up the wall, it's that disengaging. It's just more in my face right now. And it feels weird because we're not a family that does that. We're not a family that goes to our rooms and closes the door and engages in screens for hours, you know. Right. But that's the equivalent of him going to school. It's the equivalent of him going to the football game on Friday night. Yep. Yes, it's happening digitally because it's a freaking pandemic.
Because that's what's available.
I mean, my daughter has a cell phone, and she has for since she started middle school, but it's not something that's ever been glued to her hand. Again, that's not how we do it. It's really hard to tell her, I'm sorry, you need to put that down and stop. I know your friend can hang out only right now, but you know, I have a concrete rule that it can't be at this time. That had to become more fluid because they're so lonely, lonely, and they don't. Unlike the 10-year-old, they don't want to be my best friend. They don't want to play with me.
Well, they also want to be your best friend. They just don't want to be your only friend.
Exactly. They have plenty of time with me, and it's more than it's adequate for them.
Right.
And so allowing them that space it's been a hard decision to let them do that though, because I tend to be more of like a monitoring parent, and so letting them have that space, it's like it feels weird when it's at home and not at school. Like they're already being influenced by their peers at school, but that feels normal. This feels like they've disengaged from the family, and it's weird. It's weird.
The boundaries are so fluid. We've talked about this. That, I don't know, I was listening to some other podcast that was saying it's not that we're working from home, it's we're working with home. And all of our different roles and identities are all intermixed.
And they're all turned on all the time. Yeah. You're always momming, you're always working, you're always house managing, always wifing.
Domestic engineering.
My husband is working from home, unlike Sarah's, and so there was a period of time where I was finding myself the administrative assistant. Like I was filling water bottles and bringing snacks, and could I make a lunch for everyone? And I was like, okay, wait a minute.
Hold on a minute, sir.
This kitchen works fine. Everyone's hands work fine. We make our own food. And I had to cut because it was so easy for him to transition. Not that his administrative assistant at work does those kinds of things, but she picks up all the slack.
Sure.
And then he does all the, and so it was like, but I don't have a helper. And I was like, me neither.
Me neither. Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. How do you think I do the rest of the fucking day by myself? Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, it's funny, like you say, working with home, because everybody's got their roles, and the traditional, like, I'm off to work today.
Yeah.
And I always, that's my, like, have you seen the Lego movie?
Yes.
I mean, it's like,
everything is awesome.
We're going. Oh my God, I love it. Yeah. But I mean, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, okay, we go to work and we have a different identity, and we take that there, and we pack all of our shit. And some people bleed it over and they talk about their kids too much at work, and then it's always like, oh, it's Bob. Bob talks about it's like
Bob doesn't know how to compartmentalize.
Dude, now Bob's sitting at home on Zoom with his 7 cats, like on the Zoom meeting with you, and like, I mean, metaphorical Bob, not like an actual Bob that I'm talking about, but it's like all those things just start coming together. And what's interesting for me with all this, business notwithstanding, workflow productivity for the businesses that are still in business, it's improved.
Oh, I bet.
Because people can go to work in their fucking PJs. Right. And they're like, cool, awesome. I can just like not drive 40 minutes to work, drive to Monmouth every day for work. Like, it's so inefficient, right? So, I mean, we've stress tested a lot of stuff, and we found, hey, this is really inefficient and kind of stupid. Like, why do we have these massive, like, monolithic buildings filled with thousands of cubicles that shove a bunch of people into this petri dish every day, which, oh, by the way, also turns into a disease factory.
Right.
And yet now, like Nike, White and Kennedy, the big guns around here, not Intel because they're a manufacturer, but like, you get your big guns around this part of the world. They've had their struggles, but they're like, oh, well, we can do this from home, then why are we bringing people in?
And I think can and should are two different things.
That's also a good point.
Because I think there's still an amount of privilege that some, especially with parents, where one parent is able to actually fully engage in that work role at home, and the other parent is taking up the
slack.
is in both roles of parent and work, especially if they work outside the home as well. They're doing that. So like the reason that Jodi's husband can work from home like he does and can do
everything done
jobs
yes
is because she does everything else for the family, and essentially he could be a single man, and I'm not saying he's not a loving, involved father and husband, but he could. Functionally, it would be no different because he has a support system doing that. So I think, I think we're going to see how afterward, whenever afterward is.
Right, when everything goes back to normal.
Post-pandemic.
Some of these companies and some of these organizations are going to be like, oh, we see how we can make this work, but we also are going to see the parts that have to stay the same. Right. And so like we can't be living in, you can work from home as long as you can fully inhabit that work role while you're there, but you can't really work efficiently from home if you're inhabiting multiple roles at the same time.
Which is funny because as we sit here in person recording a podcast, because I refuse to do this over Zoom. I'm like, it's not going to happen. It's not the same. Yeah, it's just not the same. There's the digital disconnect. Ironically, as this goes out over digital media, but whatever. But the digital disconnect it's like the nuance, right? I mean, I'm not going to say who, but there are multiple times where it's like I can see the things going on below and outside of the screen on various Zoom calls, and people don't think that they are on a camera because they've went and hit the Zoom button, or they've done something where they've like, now you're on camera, and it's like, all that, this right here in the frame, max headroom, totally perfect. Everything else is like totally giving away, like middle fingers everywhere. Just like, it's like all this repressed rage because you're sitting here on mute or whatever. And it's like, how much of that? Oh, and on top of that, all the way back around to your social media, firestorms. It's so easy to hit one button or the other when there's no in-person.
Absolutely.
The amount of shit that gets said to you on social media sometimes, I'm like, man, if that person was in person, they would never say it because they'd be like, not you, but a person might punch them in the goddamn face.
And you would never say that.
You would never say it to a person, and not because it's not something that's not worth saying necessarily, but it's like,
you wouldn't say it like that, and you wouldn't.
You'd be more. You're trying to be constructive, right? I mean, there's plenty of times where you have come to me and been like, I know your inner monologue is like, hey, dickhead, you can't say that. Ass face, and what comes out is,
you can't talk to people like that.
You might think about, if this person was like this, they might interpret it like that. And I sit there and I'm like, oh, fuck, Jodi, you're right. Shit, I was an asshole. I'm sorry. But now if you came at me online and be like, hey, fuck
you're
face.
An asshole.
You're an asshole. Right. Like, I'd agree with you for one. Yes, I can be an asshole. And then two, what's the problem here? Because it's like I'm not interpreting everything else.
You lose all that.
You don't have to. Also, you don't have to take in her humanity.
In the same way that you can't. Like that's the cancel. Like you don't have to. And I think you're spot on that during this pandemic, all of that has become way more intense because we have way less opportunities to talk to people in person.
Discourse.
We're isolated.
And it's all digital now. It's all virtual. And I think that that does impact how people feel like they can talk to each other.
Which then becomes concerning to the point of like when the world starts kind of coming back around post-vaccine, mass, 74%, the magic number. Which, at least in this state, looks like October, November, maybe. But it's like, okay, where do we go back to?
What will we be like?
What will we be like? This is like Tom Hanks on the fucking island. And it's like, now my best friend's Wilson.
Right.
We've almost got to the point where I'm talking to a fucking volleyball. And it's,
now... You're talking to a computer screen.
Exactly. I'm talking to an inanimate object.
Head. Yep.
So what are the kids going to be like? What's their tolerance going to be for things that aren't working? Or are they going to be so... neutered just emotionally from just all of the burnout that their synapses, again, brain doctor, brain person, what the hell? And my gut is that kids are probably going to be able to readily adapt and step back into it quicker than adults will, and adults are going to hold on to some weirdness, especially depending on the workforce that you're going back into. I mean, obviously our medical first responders, they never stopped.
No.
Our
but I think the
people.
PTSD that some of the ICU folks and the ER folks are going to... And I don't know that, I think that's the thing that sometimes makes me the most angry is the lack of compassion for those people. Like, so you don't care about your neighbor. Okay, but you put up your blue lives or whatever, your thin blue line flag. You put up your, nurses are amazing and my kid's a CNA and they deserve this. Then show that. Like, show that by being so careful that you would never give them more patience than they already have. Like, you show that appreciation. Yeah. and recognize that like some of those people are gonna be very broken when this is over and gonna need a lot of no one's accustomed to that much death and that much suffering.
Not in this capacity.
Not in this generation, not in this capacity.
Yeah.
And the medical folks are not accustomed to that much dying all at once, just sustained. Like it's not the way we do it.
They may be superheroes, but they are human.
They are totally human, and they deserve a little bit of respect. I mean, good grief.
Well, and that's, if people, it's just funny because I've gotten so many DMs about last week with Deanna and Kayla, but like,
I gotta listen to that one. It sounds amazing.
It's spectacular. And what's funny is it's like they both hit the nail on the head. They're like, if you want to thank us, don't buy me a drink. Go get your fucking vaccine.
Thank you.
Don't put another sad little wet sign in your lawn. Go get vaccinated, or at least at a minimum take the social precautions as much as you can. And neither of them are ever going to diminish the sacrifices people have to make for their own safety if they don't have an essential job and they have to go work.
Absolutely.
Then I think that's a misconception.
That's different.
And teachers too. Teachers are getting freaking hammered right now because they're like, oh, they're just caring about. Well, no, they care about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But especially our first responders, it's like, no, they get it. Like they totally understand because they know, like, there's still car accidents. There's still gunshot wounds. There's still all this stuff happening on top of all this. They're not saying in any way, shape, or form, don't go live your life but just try to make some accommodations to be a little more, wash your hands, keep your distance, put a mask on, and just you can't zero the risk, but you can be
minimize. And we know the things to do, and they're not complicated. I mean, I not to minimize folks who are genuinely struggling with the distance and being quarantined. I want to make sure, I understand that. But for the most part, you're not being asked to literally never leave your home. Right. Like you can go to the store, you can go see a friend and go for a walk or something. Yeah. Personally, I won't eat at a restaurant or outdoors at a restaurant because that's not what I'm comfortable with. But that is legally is allowed. Like there are options for you. Just put your damn mask on.
Right. And if some of us are like, well, I'm not comfortable going to a restaurant, then that sort of leaves that space for the people
Absolutely.
who are
Yes.
Like
you need that kind of outlet.
We're minimizing. We've talked about the analogy of abstinence versus safe sex. This is not, nobody's arguing full abstinence in your behavior. Like go to your home and never come out.
People are arguing full abstinence, but that's not irrational. That's like a prohibition era kind of thought process.
It's not realistic, and that you'd have to be real privileged to be able to fully go into shutdown and lockdown mode. I mean, honestly,
i.e. Beyonce and Jay-Z when they jetted off to their little island.
Right. Yes, or who was it? Justin Timberlake at his ginormous ranch, and he's like, parents are not designed to spend every waking minute with their kids. This is very exhausting. And I was
600 acres in Montana, and I can't get far enough away from my family.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, yes, but recognize that if you can do that, that's an incredible privilege.
Right.
And
lucky.
I'm under no illusion that we're not. But what we mostly need to be doing is safe sex. Put on your condom.
Yes. And be selective about who you interact with.
Right. Yeah. Don't sleep with everyone.
I'm never not going to be able to look in a mask and not think it's
a face condom. 100. That's why you can't have your nose sticking out. Nobody puts a condom on their testicles, okay? Like it's not functional.
So if somebody calls me dick face, it's actually a compliment because I have my condom on my face.
If you have your mask on. If they call you that without your mask on, we're going to know.
This thing is being just so fussy.
I think it's following Beauty. Yeah. It just wants to look at Jodi. It's gazing upon her.
Just my left boob. Just that one spot.
Is that like Left Shark from...
Yes.
This is the organic nature of the podcast. It's like I've got a new camera and a new toy, and it's for whatever reason shutting itself off after 20 minutes. The nanotech
I know. The nanobots are not talking to each other.
Jeff Bezos is upset with me for some reason. I don't know why.
He shut your nanobots down.
You didn't say nice things.
I didn't say nice things.
You got the wrong vaccine. You got the one that didn't have the nanobots in it, and now you can't connect with your new tech.
Shit. Okay, so I got to make sure I go get the other vaccine. You got to get the other one. The other arm. So I got 2 on each. Okay, got it. All right. Yeah, the non-linear nature of how we come out of this is going to be as jarring as how this has gone the entire time. The thing that's hard is, and actually one thing I want to talk to you guys about in particular, because it's you too, is giving people some tools to compartmentalize some of the things you can't, articulate, right? I mean, it's between kids and then kids that are at a certain age that in and amongst all this are also going through puberty. So where they felt 10 months ago, they might feel totally different now, and then the adults that are then around them, adults that don't have kids, people that, for me, I have the fortunate opportunity that, besides building a house, I own a gym.
Yeah.
And I have, at certain points of this whole thing, I've had equipment here. At other points, I had no equipment here for like 7 months. There was nothing here because I turned it into a functional library.
Yeah, you were like a mobile library of fitness.
So creative.
So creative.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So it's like shit goes sideways. You either fucking quit or just don't retreat, don't fall back, don't throw the keys on the table and fucking walk and do all sorts of shit. It's like, okay, can you adapt? Can you sidestep? Can you at least just not get run over?
Right.
Try to preserve, try to just get through to the next day, right? And so a lot of people at the beginning, especially is with the fitness side, were like, you got to go online, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you got to monetize this. I'm like, that's not going to happen because everything that's going to go online is going to be free. Everybody's going to put it out for free, i.e. Peloton, Mosa, even Orange Theory. They're so big and they have so much capital.
They can absorb that.
They can absorb that hit and outspend me a millionfold, and there'll be so much white noise. Irrelevant. I don't give a shit about that. I only care about the sanity and well-being of our community, and that I'm a part of. It's not mine. It's just I'm a part of it. I just happen to have all the shit.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, awesome. Who can come get their stuff? Cool. Come get this. Who can't come get it? Cool. We'll go deliver that, right? Because we had some people that weren't leaving. Totally fine. We'll bring it to you. We'll put it on the doorway with a giant bottle of fucking bleach, whatever. But the evolution of that through this whole course, now we've done it twice, right? I mean, it's like, okay, so we had kind of, especially in Oregon, we had kind of the double shutdown.
Yep.
Right.
Which it's working and not working and whatever. That's a whole other, like, I have no answer for that. But the solutions that get created out of all this shit coming to the other side of this lockdown, pause, whatever you want to call it, whatever stupid shit they call it down in Salem. The lessons learned from it, what can we take, going forward? And the big one with fitness is you've got a garage gym. You've got some stuff.
And, let me tell you.
Well, there's an update on the garage gym.
There's a story about the garage gym.
And we're going to get to that. Yeah. And I want to talk about that because you've been able to engage in the things that work for you. I got lucky, whatever. I owned shit that was bolted to the wall. I couldn't leave. So Paul and I did Murph at least 12 times.
I'm sure.
Like, because it's like push-ups, pull-ups, dips, and if we didn't go on the weight vest, it was the skier because they're bolted to the wall, the two that didn't go out the door.
Things you can't share with, you can't deliver them to anyone's house, so you might as well make the best use of them.
And when I had a bad day, I fucking hammered it.
Yeah.
Or I was working on, building the house, all that kind of stuff, right? It was so bad. You bought a Peloton.
Yeah.
You went full cardio bunny, like into the abyss, and you've come back out. And for those who don't know you, it's like, this is like...
It's kind of full circle, actually.
It is a little bit full circle.
It's insane because going into the pandemic, we were sitting here having conversations about, man, I'm not really sure about the next powerlifting meet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it hurt my knee.
Exactly, because you got kind of tweaked, and it was like, I remember that last conversation before I went out of town, before the whole thing went down. And it was, okay, can I pull this? Do you think I can get there? Oh, no, I got hurt. We're going to back off a little bit. I mean, and that we being you, because it's you.
Yeah.
And to see what you've done during the pandemic to keep
desperate
your shit
times.
together. Exactly, right? But you didn't just sit and quit. You kept going forward.
Yes.
After a sidestep, and I'd call this a sidestep because Peloton's not your thing. You're not a spin class person.
No.
But it was definitely a sidestep.
Maybe now.
But
maybe.
Digital spin.
Might
But
get me into
how
it.
did... I know that there was a tipping point there, and I got to think some of it was just the fact that you just need to get the like the fourth graders, get the wiggles out. Like, I just
it was
keep
that.
moving.
So everything so I hurt my knee, and then everything shut down. Like right when I was like, "What am I going to keep powerlifting?" Because so Sara and I have been training partners for several years now. We were CrossFitters together.
4 or 5 years?
I think so. So it's the same age as my nieces. We met when my nieces were born, so 5.5 years. That's right. And we started out as Oli lifters and CrossFitters, and we competed as CrossFitters.
Right, and we did hit squad. We
did the barely clean snatches.
The barely clean snatches.
Yeah,
yes.
I still have the tank top.
I still have the overheard quotes board.
Yes.
That both of you populated with regularity.
Constantly. And so when I kind of hit the wall on cardio, I had gotten like nasty tendonitis. I've always got an injury of some kind in my back pocket.
The elbow was kind of
my elbow was killing me. And so I was like, I'm just going to be a power lifter. I'm going to get really good at squatting. I'm going to get really good at deadlift. And like, I'll bench too, because that's part of the deal. And I don't even remember how I talked you into it, but I somehow like drew Sara into this.
Well, I was basically told by enough cardiologists that you have to stop doing
You have to stop doing CrossFit.
Okay, just stop.
Can you please stop? So she was like, okay, I'll try this powerlifting thing with you.
CrossFit is not bad for your heart.
No. Sara has an underlying.
No, that's a whole other thing.
Yes.
No, CrossFit is amazing, and it was very and so I was like, I mean, clearly I am built to be a powerlifter.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Well, to be fair, so am I. You know how many 5 feet 9 inch powerlifting women there are, right?
Like
with mostly
size.
legs.
Yeah, all legs.
All legs.
Yeah.
It's always a deficit deadlift.
It's always a deficit. I used to get so mad when he would program deficits. I'm like, listen, friend,
that's 12 feet instead
I walked
of 10.
into the gym. It's a deficit. I'm already here. So I was powerlifting. I hurt my knee. I'm still not really sure what happened, other than I'm learning the value of mobility work. I'm learning the value of rehab and prehab work.
Recovery.
Recovery. I had heard a lot of talk about this recovery stuff, but I really just didn't think I needed it, because I didn't think I was training hard enough to need it. I wasn't some amazing power lifter. I just did it for fun. It was just, casual. You can get hurt lifting not that much weight. Let me just let you know. Even if you aren't that strong, you can still manage to hurt yourself. So I was going to try kettlebells. I wasn't sure. And then like the gyms closed down. And I was like, well, okay. So
kettlebells.
I ordered some equipment, like a couple kettlebells, and they came in a reasonable time, which was shocking because everything was sold out.
$6 a pound.
Yeah, it was $1 million per pound. It was absurd. I was like, for my anniversary, for my birthday, I was like asking for dumbbells, anything to do at home. But really, like, my knee was all jacked up, and the physical therapist I saw said that cycling would be a great option for my knee. So did my friend that has a robot knee. So I had
also true.
I had heard that cycling was good for bad knees.
Right. And she was resistant.
Very extremely, deeply resistant.
Multiple people are telling me this. That can't be true.
Multiple experts are telling me this. I'm sure they're wrong.
Reject.
It sounds terrible. I don't like the sound of that.
Science.
Right? I only like science when it agrees with my worldview.
I only appreciate your opinion as long as it directly aligns with my own.
See? There's even a phrase for it right there.
Yes. I want that on a shirt.
Yes. I think
the shirts are coming.
I love confirmation bias.
I love it. It's my favorite kind of bias, I have to say. It's my favorite. So when the gyms opened back up, I was getting my physical therapy, and I would go in and do my work exercises, and then I would ride the stupid fan bike. And damn it, if my knee wasn't getting better, I was like, oh. So I have friends who are getting the Peloton thing, and I decided to sign up they were doing 2 months free on the app for quarantine, and I was like, sweet, this will be perfect. I only want the strength classes. I don't want any of that cycling nonsense. That's stupid. But they have a leaderboard, and I love comparing myself to other people, and I love metrics, and I love seeing charts that show my improvement. Yeah, so I ended up buying the Peloton. And it may not be forever, but my kids ride it. My husband, who, if anyone knows my husband, knows that he does not care for exercise. It's not his favorite thing at all, and he likes being physically active, but he's not a gym or a Correct. He would go and walk for hours in downtown Tiger, chatting people up. That would be his.
Or go for a hike
or games. He likes games.
Yes. He did like it when we would power lift on date night, which we used to do, which we could someday.
Then we would go eat.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I liked it.
Powerlifting.
Right?
Nothing wrong with that.
It's the best part. So this Peloton app has literally something for everyone. He has begun exercising a few times a week in the convenience of our house. And I give him props for that, because at a time when we all just want to kind of lean into the things we're comfortable with, exercise is a total mental and physical health, and it's a release for me. I call it, burning off the bitchiness. It's that release valve for my crankiness. It's not necessarily for him, but this is a really convenient way for him to get exercise safely at home, which, as we were saying, is challenging right now. Finding a way to do that's accessible is very challenging.
Well, and to go so far outside your personal comfort zone and your personal box is, I mean, I told you this before too. It was like that just, it blew my mind, but in a positive way of like, good for you. Like, good for you. I'm glad, that you were able to not throw in the towel and get all mopey and like, I can't fucking lift heavy stuff and No, I bought a Peloton. Like,
I tried going back to the gym when they opened, and I'll be honest, even though they were being super duper safe, it was the fact that I don't need to spend my coins of socializing. I don't need to spend that, my limited amount. I don't need to spend that at the gym right now. Right. And if the gym could provide me powerlifting, if I could do that, since I can't, I really don't need to be there. I truly don't. And
because where you guys lifted, they just didn't have the structural setup to the space to be able to really accommodate.
Well, and I can't right now. Like I literally physically can't do the moves. And so there was no point in me going and taking up, they had great big pods that I could have for myself when I could do it at home and I wasn't going to risk hurting myself.
Right.
And then my kids could go to their thing. So Kellen can still come and train here. Ainsley, when Westside was open, bless their hearts, they had it like locked in, so safe for them. But they're really trying to follow the rules exactly. And so when they shut down, my daughter she's emotional in the way 12-year-olds are emotional, but she doesn't really lose her mind. She fell apart and she kept saying, why won't people just stay at their houses? This is the only thing I get to do ever. Like this is it. And can't they just play? And it's trying to both give her empathy for the fact that for some people they can't. Right. But yes, the part why the numbers are going up is because some people choose not to follow the rules. And it sucks. It sucks when you do the right thing to help other people and to be a good community member and other people don't give it to you in return.
Kids are hyper rational too, and they think it's this on TV where it's like the mall's full, but I can't go to gymnastics with 4 people and 20,000 square feet. What the fuck, Mom?
Exactly.
And there's no answer to that because it's not rational, and that's the thing. Like, especially on our end, it's like, look, Gabby, and to the step kid, and all the kids down here. So it's like, guys, hey, look, don't try to explain it. You're not going to be able to.
Yeah,
it's not a 1 + 1 = 2.
Nope.
It's a 1 + 1 = fucking camels. Like it doesn't mean anything. So you're never going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
it's just a matter of being patient and doing the right things and encouraging those that are close to us to do the right things, and then accepting that not everyone's going to behave the way that we think they should behave, and we have to live with that. It's not fun, and we're all
just doing our best.
We are, and
we're all doing our best.
I have had to remind my kids many times, as uncomfortable as this is for us, we are so lucky. Let's count. Let's talk about the things that are lucky. Dad has a job that he can do from home, so we have a very limited amount of exposure. So we'll be safe.
A paycheck.
And Dad has a paycheck. Dad, or I don't work, and so I can. As much as you don't want me to help you with school, it's so much better that I can help you with school than if you were truly doing this on your own.
Right.
Like so much better. You have me to be angry at, someone who will then just absorb that and love you anyway. I mean, if we were strung out anymore in our family, they wouldn't have that as a sounding board.
Right.
They would. It would be. I wouldn't have the bandwidth for them.
The plus side of that too is that you're willing to adapt to overcome. Right.
Of course.
And to the point of like, we got stringent rules, 8 o'clock, no cell phones.
Yeah.
Fuck, throw that out the window because that doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
Right. So you're able, and not a lot of parents are, and some parents aren't, or families, I should say, aren't as emotionally grounded to where they can say, hey, I need to be able to make a modification here and make this work. Right. You will do that. Some people won't. And to the benefit of your kids, when the situation presents itself that you should adapt and change something, you will.
Right.
I.e., Peloton. The other side.
Back to it.
Everything comes back around to the Peloton.
Everything
Ironically, like
Peloton.
a wheel spinning on a bike comes back around.
I'm pretty sure you're still so stunned that that's the direction I went.
Yes.
I didn't get a rack in my garage.
No.
I didn't get a bench set up. I got
She got all the things. She's got all the things.
Yes. I'm meant to be a powerlifter.
Exactly.
That's right. On the plus side, it means that
buck 20.
in the summer we could come over
with the weight vest on.
buck 20 soaking wet, fully dressed.
Yeah. Like
big, beastly, strong.
Literally, I thought it'd be the opposite way.
57-kilo lifter.
Where I thought she'd be the Peloton, and you'd be over there lifting the Peloton.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like, cool, how much does that thing weigh? 120 pounds. Awesome.
Let me just press that out. Yep. I'm just going to press that out a few times.
Yeah. But you went, you've got...
I stuck with it.
You did.
I did. Did not have the pain. And, of course, the cardio stuff does, because of my particular arrhythmia, doesn't make my body feel good.
I really wish I had that. I mean, can I get that? Like, if you cough on me, can I get that?
You want it until you are in Old Navy, like, so tired and, like, and texting me, like, I do not feel good.
I don't feel very good. And I checked it because my heart rate is 50. As I'm pushing, like, a cart, It's weird. It's weird how that works. Yeah, so actually, I gave away our entire home gym in like wasn't it the end of January?
Tactical error.
Mm-hmm. Friends were opening a powerlifting gym.
Our coach was opening a gym.
When Ryan was opening.
Yes.
Yeah. So Ryan and Mel are opening a gym, and he's got a stretch. So
yes,
I know.
My fur
he's got to be ready. The fur baby.
Sweetest boy ever.
The security dog.
Really? I can't? Freedom. Yeah. So I said to my husband, we've got this huge rack that we had gotten when high school was getting
squat rack, just to be clear.
Yes.
Yeah, squat rack. Huge rack, right?
Did you miss me?
I did, actually.
Those aren't even an upgrade. Those are original.
Comes from the factory.
Man.
Yeah, so we had this great big rack that we had gotten from a high school when they were clearing out all of their weight equipment, and it was huge, and it took up an entire bay in our garage, and it had all this stuff. And I was like, I am never really going to be a home gym person. I'm too social. Yes. And I said, and I quote, I can't think of any reason why I would not go to a gym. I
remember this so clearly, and how we were totally like, absolutely. Like, you're never, even if you're training, even if you limit your days to just 3 days, you're always going to want to do it at the gym with us.
Yeah. I mean, and it's cold in the garage. Like, I don't have a heater.
No.
And I'm kind of, Goldilocks. Like, that bar is too cold.
That bar is too cold.
That squat rack is too hot. So, yeah. I gave it all away. I gave all of it away except for a barbell and some bumpers that my husband had given me for Christmas years ago.
Literally the most romantic thing I've ever heard.
Right.
And
I cried.
Yeah.
Right. Here's some gains. Oh,
God,
I know.
So
he loves me. He really, really loves me.
So that was all I had. And it was kind of like piled up in a corner. And then fate was like, I said, I can never imagine a situation where I won't go to a gym, and the world said, here, hold my beer.
Yep, 100%. You like going to the gym. Oh, got it. Yeah, no problem.
That is both your mental health and your social outlet.
Yes, and your physical health, all of it.
All of it. I get it all in one place. So fuck off, you can't have it anymore. So bye-bye. I started walking.
That's
and
right.
We live on a dead-end street, and it is exactly 1/3 of a mile to do a lap on this street. And I could safely leave my kids in the house and be like, all right.
Probably not going to catch on fire.
No.
Probably.
It wouldn't be too out of control by the time you got back. You could totally still put it out yourself by the time you got back.
Do a lap and go check.
You could at least speed walk back.
Mm-hmm, right. Do a lap check. Right. So I started walking, and the Apple Watch, these rings. Oh, I'm super. It's like Jodi and her metrics. I'm real competitive about
me
these.
And my Whoop.
Yeah. If I don't close the rings, it's real annoying. Right. I'm like, I'll just take a few laps around my bedroom, get the last bit of step count in.
Sit-ups.
Burpees after brushing.
Talk on the phone with Sara and just walk while I'm talking. Walk and talk. We did a lot of phone conversations when you were doing your laps outside.
Yeah. Just jam the AirPods in and go. It was great. So, so I walked a lot, and then... And I'd been really busy right before the full lockdown happened anyway. And so I hadn't been to the gym for a couple weeks, and then schools were out, and I wasn't going to leave when my kids were home. I can't leave my kids at home, and I wasn't going to take them to the gym. Mm-mm. So, it just meant this like pivot of, okay, well then what are you going to do to still move and within, the realm of what you have access to? And I didn't do anything until aside from walking, I did lots of walking until like June when I rolled the barbell out and was like, I think I'll try deadlifting what I was doing before.
Oh, good idea.
You'd had a nice long taper. Yes. Deload. You'd had deloaded for 6 weeks.
Fully deloaded, and that hurt. I was hurt, not injured, and I was like, whoa, you have lost all the gains. I did lose a lot of weight. Because I have the opposite problem of most people and just lost all the muscle.
Yeah. That's called atrophy.
Yeah. So, but then my birthday's in July, and my husband and my parents went together and got me a squat rack.
Wow.
So,
they were able to find one.
We were. Yeah. It's the squat stands, the Rogue squat stands, the real small, like cheapest one they have. But it actually is better. It's a better fit for our garage.
It's portable.
Right. And the bench that I got is adjustable. I didn't have an adjustable bench before. So it's perfect for me. It's not like I'm pushing a ton of weight. I had all the bumpers that I might need some more soon.
Yeah.
But,
hint.
Right.
I'm like, let's see what holiday's coming up next.
Actually, I just got the safety
Valentine's
pins.
Day.
Yeah.
For Christmas, so I don't have to die when I bench.
Nice.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. They were out of stock when we first ordered.
So good, solid. Almost 6 months off from weights.
Yeah.
After having been pretty consistent for
years.
I mean,
a few years.
You guys together were consistent in like a
We had been powerlifting for 3 years. I think I figured out. We started in about 2017, I think, or maybe for me it was like end of 2016, but we got going together I think in 2017.
Yes.
Something along those lines.
And you were doing Oli before that with Wolf, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did a little
the mythical
Oli.
Wolf I will eventually somehow trick into sitting down here because I'm going to have to camouflage the mics like a German beer.
People
so
that I miss.
To it and it's like, oh, Wolf, guess what? Yeah. Hey, we're podcasting.
Kellen and I were just looking at old videos of him when he first started training here as a 6th grader. And he was like the size of my pinky finger. He was so precious. And he wore
size.
And he wore a flat-billed hat and his big glasses. Yeah. And watching him deadlift with his little baby deer legs, I was like, oh.
But I still look like what I did.
It's because the weight's so heavy. But you started Oli with Wolf and then got sucked into the CrossFit game with Wolf. And
I had a background before that.
Before that, okay.
Yeah, and I had my L1 certification.
That's right. You are an L1.
No, it's expired.
Oh,
well,
it's funny. I didn't renew
Darn it. I bet they'd give it to you again if you wanted
it. The whole Glassman explosion, how you didn't renew your L1. I can't imagine why.
Surprising for most people who knew.
He was kind of a dumpster fire, just waiting to implode. What's happening? I'm curious. I don't know. Is CrossFit kind of coming together under the new guy that took over? I don't really track it anymore.
I'm hoping to get a chance to chat with Matt and Mandy in a couple weeks.
Yeah, they would have a great insight.
And then see what, where things are at with them. And I know that like CrossFit Wilsonville and them. And I mean, the thing with CrossFit and why it's still hyper localized. I mean, people mistake it's not a franchise. It's an affiliation.
Yeah. Right.
And to the point of like, okay, everybody's independently run. It's a bunch of independent little empires, which is good and bad. I mean, it's good because anybody can jump in, but it's also not good because CrossFit doesn't give a fuck if you open up across the street or not. It's just like,
do what
okay,
you
great,
want.
cool, give us $3,000 plus your, level 1 cert money.
Right.
Yeah.
But, as a entity as a whole, I mean, you still got Tia, you still got Matt Frazier. They're still doing all their stuff. Rogue was in a good position there with the Rogue games. If CrossFit couldn't figure it out, I think the pandemic helped because it kind of just put
stopped everything and let people kind of gather their thoughts.
Yeah, and that suddenly became the least offensive social issue in the country because it's like, oh, look, Glassman's a sexist, misogynistic douchebag.
Which we kind of already suspected.
Which we already knew because everybody knew it, but because it was a $4 billion company, nobody did anything. It's like, oh, whatever, it's privately owned and didn't been much money. Oh, awesome. Hey, by the way, let's go completely light the rest of the country on fire with a real social issue and not him being a fucking douchebag.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure.
Douchebag's gone. Fuck it, whatever. Yeah. And everybody just kind of forgot about it because
it dissolved in the miasma of every other trauma.
Everything,
right? All the things. And so it went kind of poof. And so I'm going to be really interested to see if, how it's going and what kind of support they're getting. Because I know at least for a while, not that they were resting on their laurels, but CrossFit's never been exactly proactive about helping the independent or each individual affiliate.
You are your own man or woman in CrossFit, and it's always been that way. And in my experience, my limited experience, and yes, there's sort of teamwork, but it's kind of the way for the athletes too. Like they've kind of done away with some of the team stuff and the regionally stuff, and it's like, who's the strongest human on the planet? Just one person. There can be only one.
Right. It's like Highlander.
It's Matt Fraser.
Yeah.
It's Matt Fraser. Just NTA Claire Toomey. Just to be clear, it's Matt and Tia. So I mean, just everybody else stay home.
Just go to bed.
It's not a big deal. Like, which I feel bad because I like Thor's daughter and all them. Like, it's like they're awesome people, but it's like there's just these two are like, it's like Michael Jordan and Michael Jordan. Like at the same time, it's like, holy shit, they're just so much better than everybody else.
They are incredible.
And, I mean, they seem like decent people too. So it's like, God, you can't really dislike them.
Nope.
It's like they're not assholes. They're actually like nice
they
people.
They seem nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you went like from CrossFit, which is obviously Oli based initially, and then became Oli Fitness, and then like Hyper Fitness, Hyper Oli, very low power, and then
I went CrossFit, and then I went distance running.
That's right. You did.
So I did.
She was a hood to coaster.
I had to coast in half marathons and was training for a marathon when I got really sick with something we don't know, which probably was a cytokine storm, much like people are experiencing after COVID. And that is
that's a big word. Say it slower.
Cytokine is what they're seeing in people when they get COVID. It's with this sort of overreaction of the immune system.
Right.
And theoretically, that is what happened to me. And the end result of that was I was running 8 to 10 miles 3 times a week, and a couple weeks later I was on oxygen and couldn't read my kids a book without getting out of breath. And
your kids were like what, 6 months and 18 months or something?
1 and 18 months.
1 and 8,
yeah. No, 1 and 2.5. Right.
But so tiny. It's like so little. I can't even imagine having toddlers and being that ill. Like, that's just mind blowing to me.
Oh, it was not a functional time. So I was, and that was where the arrhythmia probably existed before, but became more exacerbated.
Manifests itself.
So that was, and then I sort of fought that, like, well, I can't do the distance running anymore because it makes me really sick, but maybe I can still do high intensity interval training, which is also not true.
Yes, we learned that was not the case. That was not the case.
My body really handle that. And so I went CrossFit, distance running, CrossFit, still did some distance running in there, and then
the addiction is real.
Right, yeah. And then had to really have this reckoning of like, your body cannot do this.
It's telling you something.
Right.
Listen.
Yeah, you can't do this, and you have to learn to be okay with some other form of fitness.
At the time, I was thrilled to hear this because it meant that we could powerlift together, and I did not want to cardio anymore. I was very tired of cardioing, so I was like, I mean, of course, I really wish you would be totally healthy, but if you're going to be this kind of sick, at least we can live together.
and there we go. And I'm usually like, all right, I'll try it. Let's do it.
Hold my beer.
Yeah.
Hold my beer. I'll hold your deadlift.
Right. And it was always something, I mean, needing more strength was always something that I always needed that.
You can never be too strong.
No.
You really can never be too strong.
Yeah. No.
So, that's a interesting mental shift because distance runners are wired differently.
Yeah.
Y'all are kind of
weird.
Really you're fucked up in the head. Like who wants to go do that, right? I mean, the 50Ks, the marathons, it's like I literally don't even enjoy driving 26 miles. Like
right?
I don't want to go run it either. I don't want to hike it. I don't want to walk it all in one shot. It's like the mental fortitude for that, which is interesting because you've gone the full spectrum of that to CrossFit couldn't be more different. Even though like especially CrossFit competitions, I mean the end of day energy expenditure, they might be damn near the same.
Yes.
It's not more.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're not working hard. It's just a whole different mechanism of death. And you have gone back to forth all the way to the now, we'll say the acceptance of what your body really can do. Health, with maintaining your health with your heart, kind of an important thing.
Yeah.
Which is powerlifting because it's a stressor, but it's not the same kind of stressor because I'm sure with your Apple Watch and all the things you can see like, oh, look, heart rate's elevated.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, things happen, but not in the dangerous way that the other activities were for you specifically.
Right. Well, and just were not adapted for me. I couldn't lead the rest of my life if I felt like crap, because I was, reacting to the runner's high. Basically, runner's high made me sick. But running was great because I could just go and go. Like, I've never been fast, and I've never been particularly good at any of these things I've done. Like, I'm never going to be at the top of a leaderboard in any of these things. But it was more about, part of what I liked about CrossFit is it's being better than you were the last time.
Yep.
And so it has always been about that. But running was great because I could just go. I was like, I am actually probably built for that.
Yeah.
And I could just go and go and go and go and go and go and feel fine.
Yeah.
And
that tends to happen when you weigh like $1.05.
I was going to say, you're light. And so
gravity doesn't really impact your joints the same way it does some of us larger
it's
males.
the reason you were tagged for all the pull-ups in our different CrossFit competitions.
Sure.
Like, you can do them. You are much smaller than me. It's a lot less body mass to move.
Body weight gymnastics stuff. It's fine. Right.
Yeah.
So, but and I think that's, the adapting to this too. I think that sometimes we get stuck in, I can't do the thing that I was doing or that I want to do. And so there's nothing is worth it. But there's also like, I'm not going to do it if I can't be the best or if I can't be amazing at it.
Yeah.
And there are other things in my life that maybe that's it, as I have other things in my life that I can strive for and I can work toward excellence. So exercise and fitness is just about me feeling better and moving my body and being better than I was before. Mm-hmm. And I do the competitions because it's sort of like signing up for a race. It just gives you
some accountability.
A goal to work.
But also, it's also fun.
Yeah,
it is fun.
People don't understand. It's like, why would you go? It's because it's fucking fun.
Right. We have, powerlifting competitions are so fun. You have
it's a huge party.
Pots. Everybody's eating.
It's very loud.
But I like the eating.
It's a foodie group with a lifting problem.
I remember walking into the first one and everyone's got tattoos and they've got great hair, and I was like, I found my people.
These are my people.
And CrossFitters look similar, but they have a different kind of intensity. Mm-hmm. I want to move one heavy object one time and then have someone tell me how great I was.
Yeah. And then hand me food.
Yes.
Everybody's cheering and screaming.
Yeah.
Like when
it's
I go
super
to
supportive.
weightlifting competitions, it's all silent. And I'm like, because
only lifting competitions are not the same.
No.
They're very serious business.
No, because
very
their
European.
Sticks are shoved so far up their asses.
Very Russian there.
Oh my
very
God. It's such a communist activity. It's like, quiet, no fun.
No fun.
We must lift now. Do it.
And you leave a powerlifting competition with hearing damage.
Yeah,
right.
It's like a concert.
Music,
right.
And everybody's screaming up because
your back hurts because everybody's been smacking it because you did such a good job.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's like up. You only have to know one word to command up.
Do it.
Yes. Everybody up, and everybody is so excited.
And they're invested in your success, whatever that looks like. If the person lifting the lightest weight gets the same amount of praise as the person who lifts the heaviest weight of the day every time.
Everybody.
Well, I mean, you guys know I don't powerlift, never have, but I'm a freaking powerlifting dork.
Yeah.
I think it's the coolest fucking thing out there because it's you against gravity. And strangely enough, on this planet, it applies to everyone the same.
Yeah.
What weight works for you is going to work the same against me. If I can lift it and you can't, cool. It's the same measurement. It's the same stick. It's not, a river with a current or a pool with a thing or this lane, that lane, or all this arbitrary bullshit. There's no headwind. There's no tailwind. There's no nothing. It's just
very simple.
You and gravity. And did I get 1 more kilo than you?
Yeah.
And do I have a calculator to calculate
how
what
many
that actually makes in pounds?
American units that is?
How many Americans is that?
Freedom units.
2.204 times. Freedom units, right?
Right. And it is based on your body weight and your gender and your age. Yeah. And I actually would add another thing that I really like, and I can say this, that as a person with thin privilege who has not dealt with the kind of pressures because my body kind of naturally looks like what we consider the standard. What I love about the powerlifting community is bodies are seen as performance machines, not visual
functional tools.
They're functional tools. And I know that all of these other sports and activities, they are also functional, but sometimes there's this overlay of this ideal body that's supposed to look a particular way, that this is
gymnastics, CrossFit, swimming, all the volleyball, all the
And I love going into powerlifting, especially for women. and seeing that women's bodies are celebrated for what they can do,
100%.
not what they look like.
Right.
Yep.
And, you know, and again, I'm not, the body positivity movement is essential, and I am not the person who benefits from that, you know,
Yeah.
as a thin, blonde, white woman, you know, there is so much about powerlifting that is inherently feminist.
I agree.
You know, and not all communities, not all people,
no.
but to see women who are being celebrated, who in pretty much every other corner of fitness are derided, is so cool.
Or condescended to.
Yeah.
Are you starting your fitness journey? And it's, you know, someone who holds state records, and it's like,
Somebody said that to her
no,
girlfriend.
she's not starting her fitness journey, friend. She's an elite athlete. She doesn't.
Right.
But
And I know you are
fitness
trying.
isn't a look. Yes, and fitness is not a look. It will never be a look. You cannot look at someone and know what their abilities will be just by looking at them. You just can't. And powerlifting, that is like times a million. Like the person who walks onto the platform could look like Sara and lift. We know people. Sophie. I mean, she's about Sara's size.
Yeah.
Very muscular, very low body fat percentage.
Yeah.
Lifts like a beast. I have at least
so
50
strong.
You're
pounds.
52 kilos, right?
57.
57 kilos. I think. What's the world record? The world record at that unequipped is like 440.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's almost 4 times fucking
It's
body
wild.
weight for a
Crazy.
fucking 110 to 120 pound
Yes.
woman is insane.
Right.
It's insane.
And I'm tall for being a 57. I probably should be like a 63 if my body would let that happen.
And
you know.
or just 8 full time.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I have to eat full time and never take a break. On
You
it.
cannot be a hummingbird. You have to learn to. I mean, I can help you with that. As someone who loves her couch, I can help you with that.
Also,
Right.
I mean, Paul Corwin has coined it. It's, I mean, the most effective diet for you with powerlifting would be the trash panda diet,
Right.
or what I've called seafood. If you seafood, eat it.
Yes.
Or be a trash panda and just eat everything that
Right.
is, including your children's, even if it's not your food. Just eat everybody's things.
I do, believe it or not. But Jodi's right. I am a hummingbird.
Yes.
So like, just to keep my kids engaged right now, I do their little PE classes with them, which they think is hysterical because I suck at all of them, you know, and they're like, I don't know, they're balancing and I'm like, oh, I'm sweating like crazy, and they're not at all fazed.
Not at
And
all.
they're just
No.
laughing.
And then we go out on the trampoline and we jump on the trampoline, which really means I jump and we play popcorn,
Oh,
you know.
right, and they
You
bounce.
jump them.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Mom
then
doesn't
I
work.
take him out in the field and I run him around, and it, you know, I don't ever stop moving. So I'd have to
No, and
sit more.
that's a little bit tough, because if you're not going to eat, I mean, roughly at your size, you'd probably need to be around 4,500 to 5,000 calories a day to get to that
That's like
body
a
weight.
full-time job.
It is a full-time
Eating.
job. It's 8 to 10 times a day just to do that, you
No,
know,
I'm not good at
and to what end? But
Yeah.
I mean, 1,010% part. And again, I know what I want to talk about. And it's like when we get there, it's like but I mean, the biggest thing, and you know this super well, and you know this super, but especially like with the kids, it's like. I'm a, God, am I going to say this out loud? I'm a fitness professional.
You are a fitness professional.
fitness
You
Not-
own a gym.
Not
so
by choice, but by consequence. Because you know my personality, that, oh, is this your first time? Go fuck yourself. Like that whole mentality drives me up a fucking wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just, I mean, it's disproportionately towards women, but the flip side on the boys' side of the house is, well, if you can't bench this, you're
you're
what
weak.
word can I use,
You're-
Jodi?
you're
Because
weak.
the word I was going to say,
I know
I'm
the
going
word, your
to say
P word.
cupcake. Cupcake is my substitute word for all the words that people
That are
would
not
normally say,
appropriate.
have probably said in the 80s and 90s. So I've swapped to cupcake because
Yeah.
it seems to be relatively safe. But if that's not safe anymore,
You're
let me
a
know.
Yeah, no, but you are not a stud. You are not buff if you can't do this or that. I deal with that a smidge with Kellen sometimes, and it's because it's the teen boy, the testosterone, the competition.
Testicles are fucking annoying. The second they drop, their fucking mental IQ goes through the floor. And
Also
it becomes,
drops.
whoa, but I gotta lift this no matter the shut the fuck up and make the lift. Like, I don't
Right.
care what the number is. You shouldn't
Yes.
either. It doesn't matter.
And if you're not doing it right, what
or
does
if
it even
so-and-so's
count?
bigger with this, well, so-and-so
We've
is
done
like,
that. With us, the women do that too. I'd stop ego lifting
Right.
to take the weight off.
I'll take an ego lift if it's in the sense of like, especially in a competition where it's like,
Sure.
I'm going to go for
Yes,
something and I
that's
fail.
it. Absolutely.
Ryan and I
Yes.
and Clayton talked about this. That's terrible grammar. Ryan, Clayton, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, where it's like, hey, you've never actually gone for PR if you haven't missed it.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't ever push that threshold and whiff, or just miss time, you're not actually going for it. So ego can be where it's like riding a big wave, surfing. Like, cool, I'm gonna ride this wave, I'm gonna go off this lift and miss it. That's totally different.
And it's
than,
a skill. It's a skill to max out.
Yes, because you have to play it by feel. You can't just put it on a schedule and be like, oh, I'm gonna go pick this up on this date. It might not happen that day.
It might not.
Or you might get it sooner, or you might get it later, or you might blow right past that number because you suddenly had this massive surge because of a bunch of people being super supportive that psychologically deep down in your freaking lizard brain said, go lift more. And you went and picked up a bigger, heavier weight in a positive, constructive environment.
Or you've built your CNS up to the point where it can handle that.
It's ready for it, even
full meltdown.
But ego lifting to me is a lot more to do with you've been programmed an 8 out of 10 on your effort today. So this should feel like if 10 is your max, this shouldn't feel harder than an 8 out of that. And you need to be able to do that for 6 reps. Well, that means you better shoot low, because it's going to be real easy to overshoot that when you're like, oh, 6 reps, that's not going to be very much. So, I have to go up, of course.
Right.
No, you don't. And that, to me, the ego should come out at the competition. You should push for that PR. And in training, unless your coach is telling you something else, they really are the expert. If they tell you to lift it an 8 out of 10 on your effort, or a 6 out of 10, they mean that. It's not a joke, and it's not a suggestion. It took us a year or two to figure that out.
Right. Well, it's one thing, and it's another thing. I think what you're pointing out is that you can do that for competition or for progress and performance, but it's another thing to tie your self-esteem and your identity to
and
that.
your image, your self-image, and your external projection of your body image,
your belief in your value. And you're right, because I think as the parent of 2 boys, I will watch that, because they're built like Daddy and I are real skinny people.
Newsflash, most likely not going to be Schwarzenegger.
No,
probably not.
Yeah,
probably more Brad Pitt.
Right.
Well, I mean, like Fight Club, like skinny
Jeff
lean.
Goldblum. I mean, they have sort of dorky parents.
Sorry, Jeff.
Right. I don't know. I think he's kind of hot.
He is hot.
He was in Jurassic Park. He had that one whole moment, like kind of like Anyway.
So I mean, I think that celebrating also the various ways that human bodies look in males and cisgender men is essential.
Yeah, and I don't understand the fitness culture being what it is realistically. I mean, fitness for me. And not that I'm, the answer or have the answers or the smartest freaking, I'm the smartest tool in the shed.
But you do have a podcast.
I do have a podcast because I've made it.
Fitness professional who owns a gym.
This is yours.
No, as I say, this is the people's. I just happen to be the one to pay the rent.
It's a socialist gym. It's the
People's
Republic
It's the People's Republic of
There's no
Forge.
bourgeoisie.
No, not at all. Not at all.
For our rogue.
Concept 2, PR lifting, awesome. No, but I mean the by a fitness professional by consequence, not by choice, because I didn't spend my entire previous life leaning into or efforting towards a career that is completely historically driven on appearance and not performance. Fitness is functional for me and a lot of the way we train. Weird that it's more sustainable. Weird that people also end up doing incredible feats of fitness, training like that as a holistic endeavor. Also weird that they tend to have a much better self-projected image of themselves.
Yes.
Which sounds funny, but it's like you're projecting yourself, right? And my feeling of myself, if it's positive, is going to project a positive self-image. They have a better feeling of self when they are fit, healthy, and can move well. If I feel like shit, probably don't think I look all that awesome because I can't train, because it's that kind of that self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like you just
and you hurt more. I mean, yes, I get sore from training, but I hurt a lot more if I've been very sedentary. My hips hurt more, my knees hurt more, and that's age. I mean, that's a product of age too, but 100% any amount of activity improves my overall way I feel. And if I feel good, why would I not be happy with, or why would I not be happier with my body? I might not be thrilled with my body, but I'm going to be a lot happier if it functions in a daily way normally. Can I go up and down the stairs? Can I get up and down off the floor with my kids? Can I chase my dog outside for, extended periods of time?
Can I get my husband's water bottle? No, but that's an internal motivator, right?
Yeah.
No, I cannot.
No, I can't.
That's
I'm not
one
that
bridge
fit.
too far.
Yeah.
But that's an internal motivator. It's not an external reinforcing.
Exactly.
And you, brain doctor, I got to think that if it's coming from your internal, if it's a good message or a bad message, no matter what, it's going to have more impact if it's a positive one coming internally, expressing outward versus the constant. I mean, literally, if I could do an EMP just for social media, electromagnetic pulse, just to nuke all social media instantaneously, it'd be fucking fantastic because at least every 10th post I see, something fitness related, is actually something positive and not just somebody
not just weight loss,
or I've got a really important message to say. I'm going to say it, but I'm going to do it with my shirt off, or I'm going to do it in this, or I'm going to do it with that. Why? Because it gets eyeballs, because it gets likes, because it gets attention. That's not real talk.
Yeah.
Put up a picture of a whatever. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. A piece of equipment and say the same thing. Is it going to get the same message? No, it's not, because everybody on there is all about the hyper visual. And I understand like there's a consequence to fitness. The more you engage in fitness, your body's going to look different. And if you take it to a certain level of fitness, your body's going to look a certain way that may or may not be more marketable online. I get it. Yeah. It's totally fine. But then you're still choosing to go out and project that image and or intake that message. So who do you I don't necessarily listen to I don't listen to anybody that's not smart. But if they're smart or not, it's irrelevant to me whether they get their shirt on in a 6-pack or a shirt off in a 6-pack. Sure. Right? I mean, I just and that's where, again, back to powerlifting, it's gravitationally democratic. There is no, I mean, how you look is totally fucking irrelevant.
It really is.
For some people, they're not going to perform as well when they're running at real low body fat.
Right. Yeah. You don't have the reserves.
Right. And so it becomes important to run at a little higher body fat percentage so that you can perform.
Right. Because it's taxing. Again, back to you running 26 miles in a day or 50K or whatever versus you.
Well, we see this in bodybuilding. When people are prepping for a bodybuilding show and they're at their most dehydrated, their most lean, I shouldn't say none, I can't speak for everyone. I've yet to hear someone who speaks openly about their bodybuilding career say, I feel my best at that time. That's when I feel really great. I wish I could maintain that forever.
Right.
I don't need to go eat a bunch of food right after the show. I'm totally fine.
Totally.
Said no bodybuilder
Powerlifters, those who are cutting weight prior to, nobody feels great when you're cutting weight. That's why you try to not do that right before. Performance is, in my opinion, a much better goal to be focused on than the look. And even as a bodybuilder, many of them focus on the look for a short period of time and focus on their performance and their building of their body, the bodybuilding, for the majority of time. I can't imagine you would feel good at that lean. I mean, you would have to carry some body fat the rest of the time, or your performance would be
and your cognitive function
abysmal.
and everything else. Yeah, you'd never make it.
That's why you'd be so tired.
That's why the bodybuilding cuts and the figure cuts and all the social marketing stuff. It's like, right, I'm going to catch you during. I mean, you can, if you follow the people that are transparent and honest, it's like they'll talk about like, hey, I've got a shoot coming up in 16 weeks. This is what I'm gonna do to get ready. Because the rest of the year they're building.
They'll also come up to you in the gym and tell you they're in a bad mood that day because it's the drugs that they are taking. And I won't, that's all I'll say about that. But I was like, oh, are you cutting? Is that why you're cranky? No, it's the drugs. And I was
it's
like,
the trend.
And
it's
that
the
right
trend
there.
And the Winnie and awesome, cool.
It's like,
He was like, did he just tell us he's using steroids?
Totally, 100%. I was like, this is my first time meeting someone who's roided out. Is that what's happening right now? Sarah's like, yep.
He's got a little vitamin S on board.
How many times have we joked though? Just one cycle. Like, can you imagine how ripped we just one cycle?
So I also want to say,
on that topic,
right? So when I lived in Detroit for a while, and I worked out at this like raggedy powerlifting gym, and there was this man that I befriended, as I do in gyms.
Absolutely.
And
he was the raggediest of the raggediest too.
Rough shape. He was Ed. I wonder how Ed is doing.
I doubt he's
50,
alive still.
And I swear he moved like he was 75. And so and he was like basically had been cycling since I think he said since he was 20, and he used to try to get me to just one cycle.
Yeah.
If you just do one cycle, you're going to build so much strength. And at that point, I was like, well, I'm actually trying to get pregnant, so I don't think I'm going to do that.
Doesn't go together.
It's going to really.
And not with you, just to be clear.
Right. No, exactly. Ed. No, I don't know that Ed could have performed anymore. He was pretty.
Right. And so I do think there's this like balance where there's performance. And then there's also long-term health.
Yeah.
And I think it's different for everybody. And I think we have a hard time defining what health is too. And that's complex. And you can't look at somebody and know whether they're healthy or not just based on what their body looks like. But there is this sort of fine line you walk of like Jodi, who is working her ass off in powerlifting, and she was consistently training and tracking her protein intake and all this stuff, and it hurt.
Yeah.
She was hurting, and
it was very tiring.
That level of performance also had this sort of switched and became this negative impact. And so I do think this is this balance, unless you're one of those elite world ranked powerlifters like our coach, who basically,
his life is
powerlifting.
His life is powerlifting.
But because that's all he does.
Yeah, that's a choice he has made.
And Ryan's,
he has a full-time job
40 too. No, but I mean, but his world, all of his social stuff, everything
he's our
he does,
age. He's like 42, 43.
42, and he's been, and I want to
44.
say, I mean, he's 25 years into powerlifting at least. Not quite, and I'm trying to do math here and I can't.
No, he started in college from what I understand.
He started in college, and it's like, right, that's 2 decades plus of at just a minimum calcification,
right?
Of just hardening into like where because that's the thing with like a lot of the kids are like, well, I want to deadlift 500. It's like, cool, you got to earn it. How do I earn it?
Yeah, same.
Says everybody, samesies. Right. But you have to earn that, and the only way to earn it is to do. There's a certain number of reps that's going to get to, unless you have a certain size of body, which will make it a mechanical advantage to get there sooner. But then to the point of Ed, who's this level burned out, right? Okay. If you are choosing, and I'm not saying selfish in a bad way, but it is a selfish motivation to say, I'm going to take whatever the next amount of time is, go on a cycle, do your thing, and I'm only going to commit to this and get to this level. It takes a certain level of selfishness, not in a negative connotation. It takes a certain level of selfishness and prioritizing yourself because the time is in. You can't replace the time it takes to get there. Yeah. So to the steroid conversation, you still got to put the hours in.
Right.
I could stick you full of all sorts of stuff.
Right. But if you're not in here lifting like a beast, you're not going to get beastie.
You still have to put the work in.
It is an enhancement, but enhancing is not. It's not doing the work for you. And that's where a lot of people make the mistake of like, oh, well, they go on steroids, so it's not cheating. Those people have some of the fucking craziest work ethic ever.
They work hard. They're going to get farther with the same amount of work I am putting in. I just want to see how far I can get putting in that work without
and I have this really fucked up view of steroid use, same as supplement. If you're willing to put a supplement in your body, there's a line to where I could make an argument that it's like it's the same thought process, same delineation as going and getting a prescription for an anabolic enhancement because I want to take my body to a certain level of performance that it physically can't recover from. To the point of, if you ever take Tylenol, you're recovering from damage with an enhanced aid.
I will recalibrate my statement to I will do legal things, non-prescription legal things.
Right, but and I'm not trying to make a value-based judgment on it because I know plenty of guys have juiced, and I know plenty of guys that haven't. I know plenty of women who've done it for different reasons. Some were pro athletes, and it's like, this is a mechanism to get back on the court to make an earning of a wage because my career span is this long.
Right.
I have to make all my money in this time, and if I'm injured, I get nothing.
Screwed.
And that's different, and the same thing as the kind of the conversation about, am I lifting for me? And that to me, with that specifically, especially if it's injury rehab or trying to build more of a muscular armor, that is internal motivation to be able to perform, right? That's not an extra motivator to your other guy. It's like, hey, I'm taking a full cycle of clenbuterol because I want to get ripped to take my shirt off, which is all external motivation of like, I want to look good when I go to Mexico or whatever, right? And so I do see a differentiation between those two, and you could probably articulate that better in a much more academic manner, but it's still kind of that same sort of thought process of is it bad? Maybe. It depends on what you're using it. I mean, it depends on what your motivation is.
And it can be, like, there are a lot of people who compete in like figure and bodybuilding where it is aesthetic. Like what they are, their performance is an aesthetic performance. A certain look. Yeah. And that the commitment, holy moly!
I would think you'd need to be in. This is tangential, but in a good headspace to do that. To do that in a healthful manner, because it's just so easy to go down the rabbit hole. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Or because it is an addictive substance, and the gains, both aesthetic and physiological, are addictive. Much like hitting numbers in powerlifting, where it's like, I'm going to go for one more, hold my beer. Oh, weird. I just blew out my back. Yeah. Or I just, it's like you have to have either somebody to pump your own brakes.
That is where a good training partner comes in very handy. No, you're done.
That is not an RPE 8. Yes.
You blew 12. Past that one, didn't you, friend? Yeah, I won't tell coach, but you need to rein that in.
That's a hard no. I think that, so I think your performance can be aesthetic, and it can be that's what you're working toward. But the problem line is when you can't maybe put it in perspective of like a greater life goal or set of life goals. There are times I would think, having never done bodybuilding or figure, where it would have to be your total focus, but you've got to be able to zoom back out again at some point, right? And it cannot be that like your value as a human is totally tied up in that, and that could be for aesthetic things, and it could be for performance things, all of these things, and there are these natural points in life where you have more ability to really, really hyper focus on one of those goals. And then other times when you're going to have to pull back and, look at a widescreen view of everything that you need to be doing in your life. And I'm kind of rambling now, but
I think where we're at in our life too, because maybe 20 years ago, or maybe pre-kids, pre-spouse, we could have been, done that micro focus and then been able to pan back out when we need to. Like right now in pandemic with kids, I wouldn't be able to dedicate 2 hours a day to powerlifting, even if the gyms were open, and even if
it's in my garage, I can't.
And I mean, for me, a powerlifting session was at least a 2-hour endeavor, and part of that's social, but part of it is the process. Like, this is not something that you get done in an hour. Like, it's
10 sets in 2 hours.
It's just the time that it takes, and I have to be in macro mode right now. Like, I don't, the Peloton has been great because it allows me to like go do that real quick at home.
The quick hit.
And I'm mostly macro now. Like, I don't get to focus hardcore on something super specific like powerlifting, even if I physically could do it.
Yeah, and that's the translation I wish we could figure out a way to make better with fitness in general, but also fitness marketing and fitness imaging, because it's still, I mean, not you guys are far more into the ability to articulate this, one, because you're women and you've lived it, you have your entire life of absorbing the messaging, but even just on the outside and being the or the, I don't want to say the wrong gender, but the other gender or a different gender, and looking at like, Jesus Christ, like it's 2021. I had to double check that for a second.
Wait, what decade is it again?
It's Blur's Day.
COVID years count longer. It's 15 COVID years.
COVID star date 9.35.
COVID star date 9487. We are alone on this island. But
if only
the marketing and and everything, it's still. I really don't feel like it's grown up yet, and it's a different, it's a different thing. But you look at like, whatever, call it Lulu or all these, empowered brands, right?
And their sizing goes up to a 12.
Right. Well, or even if it goes up to a 20, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Who are they putting on?
Who is the model?
And who is going out there, and what's the message going into your 8 and 9-year-old's brain, especially for guys?
Yeah.
What's the message for guys? Can you have the Jeff Goldblum?
Story. Oh yeah. So when Sara Robles won the bronze medal in weightlifting in the Olympics, I was like, I'm super fangirly about her.
I've Instagram messaged with her.
Oh, I have too. I've DM'd. I slid into
She's
her
super
DM.
nice. Okay, go ahead.
She's so great. I was like, come stay at my house.
Right? We're like, you can come lift with us. We have a really nice gym. We'd love to meet
this
you.
This middle-aged lady and my friends would like you to come
We
hang out
won't
with
even
us.
kill you at all.
Right. She's so great. And I think she's amazing. And I would show my kids videos of her and be like, look, she's so strong. She won an Olympic medal. And like, she's the first woman in so long to win in weightlifting. And
first woman in so long from the U.S.
From the
just
US.
To clarify.
Yes. Women won.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm just like, I'm sitting here like,
right.
Now everybody pays attention to weightlifting like we do. Yes.
Good point. Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
A non-drugged up commie.
Right.
Yes.
And so as a parent of boys, I can talk about like this. Here's a woman who's celebrated for her strength and her performance,
right,
not her appearance. And isn't that incredible? And, you know, and we were out at a restaurant and there was a very, very, very overweight woman that got out of a car. And my oldest was probably, what do you think, he was 4-ish, 5-ish maybe. And he was like, Mom, look at that lady. And of course I was like, no. And he was like, she must be so strong. And
good job, Mom.
I was like, oh, yeah, maybe she really is. Yeah, you know, and of course, that's not what makes her a valuable person, is whether she can lift weights or, you know.
But I mean, it's looking at women in a completely different way and looking at women's bodies. Not that we need to look at them and evaluate them ever, but if you're going to evaluate an athlete, evaluate them on their performance. Yes. Like evaluate them on who they are as a person. What do they do with their ability?
Right.
How they look doing it is just so...
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It's unimportant.
And it's the same. I mean, both sides. Well, see, I can't say both sides of the house anymore because you can't just say man or because
the male. You could say the male perspective, maybe, or your cis het male perspective.
You're more the like. You have more of a finger on the pulse. There's so many gender identifiers now. I don't. The pronouns, all the stuff, all the things, right? Like, at least I know enough to ask a kid, especially kids, or, well, when I say kids, anybody under 23 is a kid.
Yep.
Little fuckers. But I know enough to ask, like, hey, where are we at? What's your name tag? You know, I mean, what's your thing? Like, nobody gives a fuck what it is. But what do you want? If you want to be, you know, Cortana, I don't care.
Yeah.
But what is it? You know, just tell me the thing and I'm fine with it. I don't have any value-based judgment on it whatsoever. I don't care. I just don't want to, like, get it wrong.
Right.
So I'm looking at them now. I've diatribed off because it's like, well, really? The men's side of the house. Well, but okay, there's all the other genders and all the other things.
Yeah.
But the cis-het men
in your household.
Yes.
Or in your experience as a cisgender heterosexual man.
Cisgender.
Meaning
not transgender.
And meaning that your outward expression of your gender matches
your biology.
Your genetic.
Big dumb mammal.
Right. You look like a man and you were born a man.
Okay.
That might be, it's a bit of an oversimplification.
Yes, but I would say yes.
Okay. All right.
Carry yourself and present yourself as
if somebody asked me, that's what
masculine.
So to be fair, I still don't, it's like, I'm male. Man is still like one of those terms I reserve for my dad and my grandfather.
So you're a guy? You're a dude?
Maybe, a guy. But like, and it's not a matter of like, it's more, Jesus, this is so far off. But like,
that's all right.
It's more of the like dad, grandpa, Clint Eastwood. You know, it's like,
those are men.
But they're older and they, you know, it's like,
stoic, unemotional.
The stoic mountain. No, but it's more like they've got more years, you know, and it's like, I would never assume that I'm at that level, right? It's like, I'm still
You're
climbing.
not a grown up yet.
No, fuck no. Hello. Like, hello.
Being a grown up is super hard, and I would like to decline this trial run that I have had.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna return this. Can I go? I see. The thing is, though, I don't want to go back to teenage either. And to the full circle point of this is like, how the fuck do you navigate this as a kid coming up, and kid being anything from 5, 4, with seeing that, to all the other messaging that's out there, to the other side balance of like, hey, you can't just also let yourself go so far that it's like, hey, I'm gonna make up a number, say 500 pounds, 400 pounds, whatever. I'm 58% body fat. I've got coronary artery disease. I'm not healthy. I
can't move reliably.
I can't move. Everything hurts. Why does it hurt? Well, probably because I'm 200 pounds overweight. Like, that's a thing. I mean, it's
it absolutely is a thing. And I, without minimizing that, I do think we need to remember that there are also typically women, but humans, who are brutally underweight and are also at huge, but she's not, she's light,
she's
but
had
she's
her moments
not
of
brutally underweight in the sense that like she's not going to have a heart attack because, or her heart is not going to stop beating because her electrolytes are so screwed up because she's been starving herself.
Right.
And in America, we have a bigger problem with people who are morbidly obese and suffering from the health problems that come along with that. But we have idolized this ultra thin body type in such that we're not really focusing on, I don't know if we're focusing on the right thing here. Like striving for the ultra thin body type may also be deeply unhealthy for you. if we weren't concerned about how the person looked and simply how they moved through life, even separate from performance. Like, not everyone needs to be a competitive powerlifter. Not everyone needs to buy a Peloton because they're climbing out of their skin because they're told they have to stay home. But everyone, in my opinion, this is, I'm not a fitness professional, but I like to play one on TV. I think everyone should be able to walk for 3-ish miles on a flat road. Assuming that you're, and please, I feel like I need to say this disclaimer, this does not apply to people with disabilities, of course. If you have a normal, functional human body that you can rely on to function, properly, being able to walk 3 miles without being overly winded, jog 3 miles, I think,
or whatever that fitness capacity is, or whatever that movement
be able to go up and down.
Is.
My mom is always asking me for like fitness, little workouts, and I keep telling her, if you were to sit down on the step, your sunken living room step, sit down and stand up without your hands 10 times, 3 times a day, get down on the floor and lie down, and then stand back up without holding on to any furniture, like 10 times a day. If you went up some stairs every day, that means every day you do that, you can do it the next day, and you can do it the next day. When I learned to do a pull-up, I made myself do one every single day because it was like, as long as I can do it, I won't lose it. And I think performance is great, but for regular folks, just, can you move normally? Can you move functionally? Indefinitely.
And I think what you're tapping into also is that it's really hard to define health, and maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know what are we defining as health. It could be all these different things. It could be metabolic stability. It could be cardiovascular. It's all capacity. Of those things. It's your movement and everything. And we use weight as a shorthand.
Yes.
And it's a shortcut that in some cases is accurate. But not in all cases.
Right.
And and the problem then is that we're also using that shortcut to like weight equals health, and also value as a human
being. Because discipline, and because you're not an out of control person.
You're lazy.
The assumption being that if you are 400 pounds and arguably not healthy, your blood work is not healthy, your stamina is not there, that is your fault and a moral failing. We don't really want to know how it got here. It's just easy to say you should just get up. You sat down and you didn't get up, and that was your fault, and you were lazy.
And some of the most high functioning, driven, successful people I know are overweight.
Right.
So they're not lazy people.
Nope.
No, they're just prioritizing other things.
Right. And that actually, I'm glad you said that, because I thought of it earlier, that I've heard fitness professionals say in this very demeaning way, like, well, if you just prioritized this, and if you just if it was important to you. And I think, while that is partially true, it is absolutely true that you do have to make it a priority, and you do
make it a choice.
It is a choice, but it also reflects a certain amount of privilege to be able to say that.
Privilege and opportunity.
Yes.
Not everybody has
and
the same
access.
opportunity. And access.
Right.
And that's,
or priorities in their life, and they can't at certain times.
Well, and again, you don't have X-ray vision to see, or whatever the version of that would be, WandaVision, where you can see inside someone's head to know what's going on. You don't know who's got systemic arthritis. You don't know who's got total joint replacements. You don't know who's super fucked up orthopedically.
Their trauma you've been through.
Who is super skinny but has a cardiovascular issue.
Right?
So, and that's look at me and know that I'm high risk.
The irony of all ironies is some of the externally fittest people, leanest, Johnny Six-Pack shit I've ever seen. Heroin and meth addicts. Super fucking healthy culture there. Not, but it's like, if you take, that's how ridiculous that whole side of the fitness spectrum is to me, is that it's just like, this is insane. It's literally, little insanity that you're taking all of this away from so many people that could have an opportunity. And then it becomes such a thing that it's now to whether it's their fault or not, it's now a massive roadblock psychologically to engaging in
and the further
activities.
You get down the path of not moving in some way, not accessing
self-fulfilling
fitness,
prophecy,
it really becomes harder to on-ramp later. And one of the reasons I went with the Peloton, went with something that I could do at home, was just, it took me until I was like 35 or 34 or something to start working out at all. It would take an absolute act of God to stop me from finding some way to be active now. Like, it is such a foundational principle for my mental and physical health. Like if
You've been saved.
I have, honestly, like it's a pyramid, and at the bottom are my meds and my exercise and my sleep and my downtime. And if you take one of those legs away, my whole table will crash. And so I can't just be Ed and beat the shiz out of my body as long as I possibly can, because there will be an end point. Yeah. And then I can't access the activity anymore.
Then what do I do?
Yeah, then I'm going to be screwed. So it's like I can't stop. I just have to find a way to be safe.
And you're saved, and you have that as a part of your life. But when it isn't a part of people's life, we have to recognize what a act of God it takes to get it into your regular life.
Totally.
And how it is, and I think there's also this idea that like, once it's in, it's in. Once you have a fitness, like some kind of physical activity you do, it's there. It's constantly re-engaging with it, because your schedule changes, you get sick,
you get injured, your kid gets sick.
Right, your kid gets sick. There are all these things where you're constantly re-engaging with that behavior pattern and that habit. And so it isn't like, I'm going to break a bad habit and start a good one. No, it's constantly creating that
constantly
habit.
Choosing it.
And I always use the surfing analogy, especially with the kids who've been around a body of water. And it's like, hey, when the tide comes in, it kind of pushes you into shore and you can get on your board or whatever. They understand that. It's like, right, not every wave goes the same distance and not every wave lasts the same length. And sometimes you miss it, right? And so, and to that end, it's like, sometimes the wave falls out from underneath you, i.e. you get hurt.
Yep.
And it's like, oh shit, I got to catch a different wave. Well, this wave isn't the same as the last wave. Right.
Yeah.
Are you going to ride it, or are you going to pass it up for the next one? Don't know. Figure it out.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Figure it out. Make a choice. Our tactical dog is tacticaling.
He's checking things out.
He's
Well, he backs up.
He's like, oh, that's not a fun
Sorry,
staircase.
Mom.
No, it's okay.
Such a good boy.
But so it's hard to get people. You can never surf if you don't get in the water. Right. I joke about you've been saved because it really, especially the early days of CrossFit, it can be cultish.
Was a religion.
It can be religion. And it's like, but for me, it's like, not a fitness professional by choice. It's by complete consequence. I don't ever want anyone to follow what I'm doing because I said something. I want them to, I'm just here also.
Yeah, you're facilitating their fitness journey.
I'm not looking for disciples. I'm not looking, I hate, especially on Instagram, I hate the followers thing. It's like, but there are coaches that it's like, no, you're going to follow me because I am the way, I am the light, I am the whatever. And I think that's which is, some people need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people need church. I don't.
Yeah.
The last time I tried to go in, it caught on fire. It's not for me. But that doesn't mean it's not great for other people. Yeah. Because not everything speaks to everybody the same way, right? It's just the way that we are as humans. But the one common factor that I can see across all those, whether you're religious deity or it's the people, the community that are there for you and with you, the fellowship. Yes. And to the point of you two sitting here right now.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yin, yang, whatever the flip flop of that is. Chocolate, vanilla, whatever. It's like, right, but it's like you guys
it's the secret sauce.
You guys are together, intertwined. And there is a expansion of you two at other places, other facilities that are also intertwined. And that community, and it's just getting out there to find that thing. Powerlifting is not going to be for everybody.
No.
But it's a great
It's not for me right now.
It's not for you right now.
It's right for me.
But the people that through powerlifting are still your people.
They will never not be my people.
And they will never not be your
people. And they
people.
will cheer me on and I them, whether I'm riding a stationary bike or lifting 300 pounds off the floor. Right. They are in my corner and they're vested in my happiness, not in my performance, not in my look, of course, not in where I do my happy exercise. Their investment is in me as a person.
Right. Yeah. And the totality of who you are as a person. Because I know full well that there are people, possibly even in this room, that don't agree with everything that you feel or everything that you do or everything that you say.
Apollo and I are working on it, okay? I've almost got him as my disciple too. Yeah.
But to that point, it's because of the diversity of those people. That's what makes it stronger, is because it's not everybody doing the exact same thing. And if you decide to spin off into some other tangent and you need to get reeled back.
Literally spin.
See, God, See, this
so
is
good.
Ew.
This is so good.
You've been locked away, and yet it's all still right there.
Right there.
It's right
The
there.
muscle memory is strong.
Forgot how to people, but there it is. It
It's
just
right
came
there.
right back. Mm-hmm.
But that's the point,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
that you can be wildly diverse in your fitness activities or your social focus to a point. There's certain things that aren't allowable,
Yes.
and we've gone through a lot
Yes.
of those kind of things. But there is a grounding there of like, right, we can all work this together and get to the end, whether you look like you, I look like me, you look like you, or the other 70 million combinations of, or
Totally.
6 billion or whatever it is on the planet, combinations of people and what they look like, how they act and what they do. And that's the thing that it's why I wanted both you on here, because you're both fuckload smarter than I am at articulating this shit.
Sarah for sure is. She uses her brain on the regular. I have to sometimes shelve mine for a while.
There's some atrophy there too.
Well, but it's it's kind of like Ryan. He can walk into a gym any given day if he's been off for 6 weeks, probably pick up 600 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's just a baseline level
Yes.
there
Yes.
that's like, okay, cool. You're never going to lose that, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to lose that level that we all need and we
Yes.
need more of.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to stick a microphone in your face and have,
And hear your thoughts.
well, because and both you guys, because it's this is practiced, not because it's something that you're trying to do differently, but because you just want to keep getting better at, i.e. the peopling. And we get you and I get tired of peopling. Like
Yes,
it's like I need
very
less people.
exhausting.
It's exhausting, but it's good
not,
practice.
Not when you're with your people.
But not when you're with
Right.
your people. And that's the
Takes
other thing too,
energy.
is your people help you grow. People that I've met in fitness. So Sarah, of course, is, she's my bestie, but like Liv, Mel, my people are as invested in my physical activities as they are in who I am as a person and being a better person. The
Right.
reason I don't hate hugging anymore isn't because my friends forced me to hug a lot. It's because I like hugging them
Right.
and they feed that inside me and they're fine with that. And they're also fine if I tell them I don't want to be hugged right now. Like it's that
No touching.
Right? Finding your people that know where to push you a little bit, but show up for you no matter what.
Yeah. And if you don't make it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like I mean, lifting in your garage this summer, I was still pretty broken. So I'm like doing some stretches and kind of just chatting. It's irrelevant. Like, if I pick up a barbell or not, these are my powerlifting people,
Right. Yeah.
and we will still train together when we
Right.
can, when it's safe.
We've joked about someday when we go back into a gym, she's just gonna drag a spin bike in and put it in front of the squat rack and spin.
Yes.
She'd be like the coxswain in the boat, just like yelling at everybody, like, one more.
Yes. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
Right. And it'd be like, no, we rest for 10 minutes between sets, Jodi. Don't you remember? You keep going. I rest.
I'm resting. The
And I have a
hummingbird is
picnic.
resting.
I'm gonna have a picnic.
And eating, you look like you're working really hard.
Yeah.
It is kind of ironic that you are now the power lifter and I'm now the spinner.
I know.
Oh, how times have changed. I mean,
It's the actual best.
COVID has had some big consequences.
Right.
It has.
Yeah. It's rocked
Unintended
our world.
consequences.
Rocked our world.
But it's made us better.
I
Better,
do
more
think so.
balanced.
I think I'm better because I have had the privilege of being able to try to get better.
Yeah.
I'm not treading water so hard that I can't get
Right.
better at something.
You're actually swimming and not just drowning.
We're all in the same boat. My ship happens to be pretty secure, and Jack and Rose on their piece of door from the Titanic are probably struggling a little bit more. And
Right,
maybe
both,
they don't.
both could have fit. Just gonna put that out there.
We all know it.
Rose didn't really love Jack.
She saw the error of her ways and was never going to get back to that
Yeah.
rich life if she let him on that door. So that was going to be a hard no. He was. He opened her eyes to what she knew to. She knew to set the bar high on that, but she
Sorry,
just.
Mom. I know you wanted
Sarah's
to
back.
listen to
Sarah
this.
is back.
I know. I'm like
Podcast.
I don't. I could easily swear because nobody that I know will know how to watch this or listen to this or
Great,
anything.
perfect, exactly what we want. No one can actually see this or hear
Jason
this.
will.
That's totally what I'm going for.
Jason will totally like my family would be like, a podcast? How much do those cost?
Is that on TV?
Yes. How do I get to watch you do this?
That's fantastic. Closing thoughts, any?
I'm glad there's a vaccination. I'm really excited for that.
Yep.
I am very thankful for my people who I used to
will
never
never
talk
hear
on
this.
the phone. Yeah, right? And now Sarah has me talking on the phone multiple times a week.
I just call her without texting.
She cold
first.
calls me now and
Yeah.
I answer on like the second ring.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I do like, hello, hi. Oh,
Friend.
well, it's like, okay, family, I can't be available for anything for a while.
Yeah.
Sarah needs me. She needs me badly. Just close the door and you're
Could
just
be 20 minutes, could be 3 hours.
you have no idea. You never know.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I think my closing thought would be that I hope we have short memories for these things, but I hope that we can remember what we're thankful for. Not to sound like a Pollyanna, but there's a lot of things that
we made that clear. It's Goldilocks.
It is a little, right? A little orphan Annie, like the sun will come out tomorrow. I think there are so many things that I did not appreciate pre-COVID that I hope that I can in some way remember that when they come back. And I think my brother's analogy is that the sort of return to normal life is going to be like the sun rising. It'll be this very slow, gradual process. And I think, we're going to add life experiences and privileges and freedoms back into our life. And I hope that we can all remember how lucky we are to have those, because what it was like to have them all stripped away pretty radically.
Yes.
And it is making me more thankful for really simple things. And of course, that is coming from a place of privilege. I'm not trying to hang on to the door.
Right
now.
Yes.
So
yeah, awesome. You guys crushed it.